Chu Xian was able to swiftly defeat Duan Feiping, who was in the same realm, for several reasons. Firstly, in the prior combat, Duan Feiping had already expended a considerable amount of his spiritual qi and had even deployed his most powerful attack spells. This was precisely why Chu Xian had remained passive, biding his time. If the opponent did not deploy their skills, he would not enter the fray. Secondly, Duan Feiping could not have anticipated that Chu Xian possessed the Merit Bell, a top-grade magic tool, nor could he have foreseen the terrifying extent of Chu Xian's merit, completely misjudging his defense. Otherwise, Duan Feiping would have at least been able to retaliate, instead of being so severely injured by Chu Xian right from the start, rendered utterly incapable of fighting back. Treading through a mixture of blood and mud, Chu Xian advanced slowly. Ahead, beside the charred corpse of Lu Zhenxiong, lay a figure. "You actually shattered my lifebound magic tool. I will kill you. Kill you," he roared, plunging a dagger viciously into the charred corpse. The voice was familiar to Chu Xian. It was Wu Ting. The footsteps behind him alerted Wu Ting. He sprang up, his pale face twisting into a smile. "Senior brother Duan, you've returned from slaying Li Xianming." His words trailed off, stuck in his throat, as his smile froze like ice. Chu Xian? A smile uglier than bitterness itself contorted Wu Ting's face. He was no fool. Although he had been thrown far away by Lu Zhenxiong and had not witnessed Chu Xian joining the battle or his successive slaying of Li Xianming and Duan Feiping, he could guess. Chu Xian's presence here meant that the situation had spiraled beyond their plans. "Junior brother Chu, you're still alive, thank heavens. Lu Zhenxiong, that traitor, caused my lifebound magic tool to be destroyed. Where is our senior brother? Is he safe from Duan Feiping's pursuit?" Wu Ting was filled with righteous indignation. Chu Xian approached him with a slight smile. Suddenly, the evil demon claw appeared and clenched Wu Ting's head. And then, before his horrified eyes, Chu Xian crushed it completely. With a crack, like a ripe persimmon smashing onto the ground, juices and pulp flew everywhere. Of course, Chu Xian still took care to collect his body, throwing it into the tower. You demon cultivator of the extreme cave." The two Foundation establishment cultivators widened their eyes, hurriedly attempting to flee. But they were quickly overtaken by Chu Xian, who crushed their heads as well. Afterward, Chu Xian cleaned up the scene, throwing all the cultivators' bodies into the tower. He collected all their storage bags. Ensuring nothing was overlooked, Chu Xian then returned to Lu Zhenxiong's charred corpse. Even in death, Lu Zhenxiong maintained the state of his dark beast demon body, making his body extremely large, more beast than man. Unauthorized reproduction. This story has been taken without approval. Report sightings. Senior brother, you are too kind to be a demonic cultivator. Perhaps if you had joined one of the righteous 5 sects initially, your fate would be far better than it is now. Chu Xian sighed softly. He could have tossed Lu Zhenxiong's body into the tower, either to nurture corpse puppets or to breed goo insects. But he chose not to. The bodies of Foundation establishment cultivators were numerous, one more or less made little difference. Yet, a kind demon cultivator like Lu Zhenxiong might be the only one in this world. He placed Lu Zhenxiong's body into a storage bag by itself, planning to take it back to the extreme cave for a proper burial. "Stop hiding, come out." Chu Xian spoke nonchalantly, not even turning his head. "Ha ha ha, you caught me after all." Han Liuyun leapt down from the top of a giant tree, revealing a smile. He was somewhat panic-stricken. His employer was Duan Feiping, and he had been searching for Duan Feiping's whereabouts just before finding this battleground. Upon arriving, however, he discovered Duan Feiping barely clinging to life, closely guarded by 2 corpse generals. The one who survived was Chu Xian, who appeared virtually unharmed. Who was truly the genius here? Han Liuyun's mind seemed overwhelmed. Chu Xian asked calmly, "How much did you see?" Han Liuyun shook his head. "When I arrived, Duan Feiping was already in this state. I saw none of your trump cards. If you don't believe me, I can swear an oath on my inner demons." Xian shook his head. No need, you surely have ways to circumvent such oaths. Han Liuyun just smiled, saying nothing. Xian casually asked, how was your harvest? Han Liuyun smiled, 6 foundation establishment corpses, 8 storage bags, not too bad. The two made sporadic conversation, yet maintained a cautious distance. After a moment, Xian erased all traces left at the scene, then finally looked towards Han Liuyun. Xianxia the novel, Azure.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Han Liuyun smiled, leaving? Xian nodded. Next time we meet, perhaps we can cooperate, Han Liuyun chuckled. Definitely next time, Xian responded noncommittally. Both stepped back simultaneously, then quickly vanished into the forest. On the main battlefield, the war among Qi refining cultivators continued. Unbeknownst to them, within the unseen woods, several foundation establishment cultivators had perished, including Duan Feiping, one of the renowned Heavenly Seal trio. Xian did not rejoin the battle himself but released Long, Hu, and Bao to hunt down the 1,000 Insects Sex Foundation establishment cultivators. He stood on higher ground, surveying the distant conflict among the Golden Core cultivators. It seemed likely that the Heavenly Seal sect, 1,000 Insects sect, and Imperial Spirit Mountain would all enter the fray. Not to mention the Golden Core cultivators of Imperial Spirit Mountain, even those within the Heavenly Seal sect might covet the precious treasure. Even though Wan Wuying was well prepared, Xian dared not conclude that Wan Wuying could win or even survive until the outcome was clear. If Wan Wuying dies, the Extreme Cave will most likely be purged by the Heavenly Seal sect. It would be wise to think of an escape route sooner rather than later. Yu country is dominated by the heaven-burning sect alone. Heading south to Yu country to restart my demonic cultivation career is not out of the question. However, I have heard that between Yu country and Yu country lies a boundless desert filled with demonic beasts, a challenge even for Golden Core cultivators to cross. Without a map to guide me through the oases for rest, my journey south would be exceedingly difficult. Xian could not help but sigh. It wasn't that he didn't want to flee, his abilities simply did not permit it. If I ever get the chance, I must remember to collect a map. Xian made a mental note of this. Just then, he saw 2 streaks of light suddenly join the distant battle. 2 additional Golden Core cultivators? One of them feels familiar, like it's Zhao Wuya. Xian was surprised. Were Zhao Wuya and Huang Yuanwu not recalled by the main hall of the Heavenly Seal sect? Why had they joined the battle halfway through? Could this supposed switch in war leaders be merely a ruse by the Heavenly Seal sect? Or perhaps it was Wan Wuying's own scheme? Xian perked up. This development could tilt the battle of the Golden Core cultivators in Wan Wuying's favor. Sure enough. Not long after, the earth-shattering exchange of spells in the distance concluded. 100 breaths later, 5 figures streaked across the sky and landed on the main battlefield. Leading were Wan Wuying, Zhao Wuya, Huang Yuanwu, and Chu Qiong. Trailing them was Zhu Taiji. However, Zhu Taiji was severely injured, having lost an arm, not as if it had been severed by a magic tool, but as though it had been violently torn off. Their arrival greatly boosted the morale of the Heavenly Seal sect cultivators. The 1,000 Insects sect cultivators were terrified. Old Zhao, it's your turn, Wan Wuying said casually. Zhao Wuya smiled, circulated his spiritual qi, and announced loudly, the 1,000 Insects sect's 100 gu, chaotic blood, and dry bone demons have been slain. Disciples of the 1,000 Insects sect, surrender and you shall not be killed. His voice boomed like a great bell, resounding thunderously across the battlefield. As the Golden Core cultivator fell, the 1,000 Insects sect's foundation establishment and qi refining cultivators immediately crumbled like a landslide. They surrendered in droves, and in the blink of an eye, the battlefield was filled with 1,000 Insects sect cultivators no longer resisting. Xian, seeing that Wan Wuying was safe and sound, breathed a sigh of relief. His master was still alive, thankfully, there was no need to flee. At that moment, a voice transmission echoed in his ear, come find me in the eastern forest. Xian immediately headed there and found Wan Wuying looking somewhat pale. Chu Xian produced some healing pills. Master, are you injured? Wan Wuing dismissed them with a wave of his hand. Your healing pills are of no use to me, take them back. Chu Xian nodded, thinking he hadn't really planned to give them anyway, it was just for appearances. Wan Wuing took several glossy pills and popped them into his mouth, gradually bringing some color back to his cheeks. He looked at Chu Xian with a complex expression and after a long pause said, "Is it just you?" Chu Xian nodded. What happened? Tell me about it, Wan Wuing requested. Chu Xian recounted the battle in detail, not intending to lie, as Wan Wuing would surely find out the truth if he chose to investigate. He merely omitted that he harbored merit and had practiced the techniques of the Golden Dragon Temple. Wu Teng, that traitor, well killed. Lu Zhenxiong, sigh, he was always too naive, too kind-hearted for demonic cultivation. Li Xianming, he did nothing wrong, why did you kill him? Wan Wuing looked at Chu Xian. Chu Xian replied calmly, he did nothing wrong, but he might have treated me the same way in the future, so I killed him. Also, keeping him would have split the cultivation resources and attention you give to me. Better to focus all on one than to dilute the effect across two. It's better if there's only me. Wan Wuing commented, you're quite straightforward. The battle is over. I need to go back and heal. I'll emerge from seclusion after some time. Chu Xian started to speak, then hesitated. Wan Wuing chuckled, I know what you want to ask. The leaders of the Heavenly Seal sect aren't fools, they guessed early on that Imperial Spirit Mountain was interfering. The supposed reassignment of Zhao Wuya and Huang Yuanwu was merely a ruse, they never left and stayed nearby. Zhu Taiji, driven by personal desires, secretly collaborated with Imperial Spirit Mountain to attack his fellow sect members and even ordered his disciples to kill disciples from my extreme cave. He will be punished and stripped of various resources and positions. However, as a Golden Core cultivator, the Heavenly Seal sect won't be too harsh on him. They won't drive him away but will let him reflect on his actions, and perhaps one day, he will be sent to attack Imperial Spirit Mountain to redeem himself. Guozhen, too weak, was killed by me. Wan Wuing clicked his tongue, in my opinion, the elders of the Heavenly Seal sect are still rigid in their ways. It would be better to let me slay Zhu Taiji and forge him into a corpse commander, far more useful than a rebellious Golden Core cultivator. This story originates from Royal Road. Ensure the author gets the support they deserve by reading it there. Chu Xian chuckled softly, the leaders of Heavenly Seal sect fear you as well. Wan Wuing snorted, of course I know that. They don't want me to become too powerful. But they still need to rely on me now and dare not treat me poorly. This battle has indeed established the reputation of my extreme cave. No one dares to provoke the tiger anymore. Just continue to act as usual during this time, and do not tarnish the name of extreme cave. Chu Xian nodded, yes. Wan Wuing then said, you take care of cleaning up the battlefield. Don't waste so many corpses. Yes. With that, Wan Wuing rode the black winds and vanished in the blink of an eye. Chu Xian felt a bit sentimental. His master was indeed reliable. A good thing indeed. He diligently gathered his own resources, but nothing compared to the master directly bestowing him a trove of treasures. The great battle thus concluded. Over the lands of Wu province, only a few foundation establishment cultivators led qi refining cultivators in resistance. Additionally, the land was rife with poisonous creatures and demonic beasts. These also needed time to be cleared. If not cleared, it was impossible to establish mundane cities. And without mundane cities, true dominion could not be discussed. The Golden Core Masters of the Heavenly Seal sect naturally wouldn't spare the energy for such tasks. These chores of clearing goo cultivators, poisonous creatures, and demonic beasts, and establishing mundane cities, would all be delegated and completed by the disciples of the Heavenly Seal sect. A sect expands its territory step by step in this manner, growing ever more vast and formidable. Chu Xian was too lazy to care about these commissions. Too troublesome. It was quicker to make money through looting. Xuan swiftly cleaned the battlefield before anyone else could react. Nearly 1,000 corpses were collected into the corpse-nurturing tower. Xuan, piloting the green shadow shuttle, was about to return to the water curtain cave. Then he heard an urgent shout from below. "Uncle Master Chu." Looking down, it was Chengge, lying amidst a pile of corpses. However, Chengge had lost his right arm. His body was also covered with numerous wounds. Yet, his face was filled with joy. Clearly, he had reaped great rewards. Seeing no one around, Chengge took a storage bag from his own, and respectfully presented it with both hands, whispering, "Uncle Master, this is a storage bag from 1,000 Insects Sect Foundation establishment cultivator that I found. I didn't dare to keep it for myself. After much thought, I decided it should be presented to you." Xuan chuckled softly. For this once junior brother, now a nephew disciple, he held a deep impression. Now, Qinji's actions were quite commendable. Search *the Fire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xuan casually accepted the storage bag. "Chengge, let's go. I'll accompany you part of the way. In the future, when you establish your own cultivator family, I will lend a helping hand." Chengge was immensely moved, almost kneeling in gratitude. "Thank you, Uncle Master." He could have easily kept the storage bag for himself. The value inside would even surpass that of 2 or 3 dozen Qi refining stage cultivators' storage bags combined. Yet, after much deliberation, he decided to hand it over to Xuan. Because he could see. Out of the 4 Foundation establishment cultivators from Extreme Cave, now only Xuan remained. He had outlived Li Xianming, Lu Zhenxiong, and Wu Ting. Why wouldn't he invest in such a person? Why not serve him? A short while later, Xuan set down Chengge at Plain City. Chengge respectfully said, "Thank you, Uncle Master Chu. Once I recover from my injuries, I will start establishing my cultivator family." Xuan smiled, "Very good. Extreme Cave needs to grow and thrive, and it requires your contributions of spiritual seedlings." Xuan watched him depart, then once again piloted the green shadow shuttle into the wind. He quickly returned to the water curtain cave. On the Blue Star, Xuan opened each of the storage bags one by one. The 1,000 Insects Secte Gu cultivators were generally quite poor. Their spirit stones were few, but they possessed countless Gu insects and eggs. The Foundation establishment cultivators of the Heavenly Seal sect, on the other hand, had considerably more substantial wealth. From their storage bags, Xuan found many unexpected items. Items like blood beads, Gu insects, demonic pills, and magic talismans, clearly all backup strategies and resources. Yet, they hadn't even had a chance to use them before they met their demise. Finally, 2 exquisite storage bags lay before him. One belonged to Li Xianming. The other to Duan Feiping. The best was saved for last, a treat to be savored. These 2 storage bags were bound to be the most valuable. Time to open these blind boxes. Chapter 103, The Deal with Han Liuyun Plus, Turn Off Reset. Within Li Xuanming's storage bag, the spirit stones were surprisingly scant, amounting to just over 3,000 small spiritual stones and about 20 to 30 medium spiritual stones. Xuan surmised that Li Xianming had likely spent the spirit stones before the war, exchanging them for magic tools and other forms of immediate combat power. As for magic tools, Xuan found several high-grade defensive magic tools. There was also one top-grade defensive magic tool, a personal undergarment armor, although it had been damaged during the battle between Li Xianming and Duan Feiping. However, the 3 secret techniques hidden by Li Xianming piqued Xuan's interest. Turtle Breath Technique, a high-grade Foundation establishment stage cultivation method with 3 levels. It could completely conceal one's aura, making one appear as a mere mortal. When cultivated to its highest level, one could freely intensify or weaken their aura. Venom Scripture, which recorded over 100 poison formulas, covering both Qi refining and Foundation establishment stages, along with various methods of administering poisons. Such esoteric and unorthodox methods were uniquely valuable to Xuan. He had previously dabbled in the art of poison, but the poison techniques of the Infinite Sect were relatively mediocre. He had only explored them superficially and regretted not delving deeper. Now, a comprehensive manual on poisons was literally handed to him on a platter. There was no reason to let it slip away again. Complete root seizing technique, which could extract another spiritual root and transplant it into oneself. The more materials prepared, the more complete the extraction of the spiritual root. At its highest, it can fully seize another spiritual root. Xuan clicked his tongue. His own spiritual root was a mid-grade wood-leaning spiritual root. Hence, he had long prepared a secret technique to seize spiritual roots, although he had seldom had the chance to use it. Either there was no suitable target, or he lacked the necessary materials. However, the technique he had only allowed for seizing up to 50% of another spiritual root. For an ultimate thunder spiritual root like Duan Feiping's, even if transplanted, it would likely degrade to a superior grade thunder root. But with this complete root seizing technique, he could potentially seize an ultimate thunder root in its entirety. Such an opportunity was monumental. Xuan carefully stored these items. Then, he opened Duan Feiping's storage bag, and the contents left him astonished. Indeed, Duan was secretly regarded by many as the foremost among the 3 scions of the Heavenly Seal. His wealth was astoundingly abundant. Chu had never seen such a well-stocked storage bag. Small spiritual stones, 6,000. Medium spiritual stones, 200. Top-grade magic tools, 2. Foundation Establishment Stage Magic Talismans, 4. Foundation Establishment Stage Beast Spirit Talismans produced by Imperial Spirit Mountain, 8. Foundation Establishment Stage Demonic Pills, 1 bottle. Foundation Establishment Stage Healing Pills, 8 bottles. Foundation Establishment Stage Killing Arrays, Defense Arrays, and various special arrays, 12 in total. The author's content has been appropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. Besides, there was an extensive collection of cultivation manuals. Heavenly Seal Sect, Thousand Insects Sect, Blood Fury Sect, and more, all included. Clearly, these were the spoils of war Duan Feiping had collected from slain enemies. Now, including Duan Feiping himself, all these treasures had fallen into Xuan's hands. Rich as Croesus, Xuan marveled, clicking his tongue in wonder as he carefully stored away the treasures. He then began the process of seizing and transplanting spiritual roots. The complete root seizing technique required 3 types of pills as mediators to excavate and hold the spiritual roots. 2 of these pills were high-grade foundation establishment stage, and the third was even a top-grade foundation establishment stage pill. All of them possessed the properties to reinforce or even repair damaged spiritual roots, making them exceptionally expensive. The high-grade foundation establishment stage pills each cost at least 600 small spiritual stones, and the top-grade foundation establishment stage pill demanded a whopping 800 small spiritual stones, and even at that price, they were scarce. Ultimately, this was due to the rare ingredients required for their creation. If Xuan did not have the planet Blue Star as his backyard, with its abundance of zombies serving as furnaces to grow spiritual plants, he would have found it challenging to gather these essential pills. There are a few types of spiritual plant seeds I still need. I'll go buy them shortly. Let's plant these seeds now. In time, they will grow, and I can attempt to concoct the pills. With that, Xuan headed to the unnamed market to purchase the seeds. In a tea house at the nameless market, Xuan sat quietly on an armchair, eyes closed as if dozing. The tea and snacks served by the female cultivator remained untouched. He was always cautious with anything not prepared under his watchful eye. If he could avoid eating, he would. Moments later, a figure appeared on the 3rd floor. Almost instantly as the footsteps sounded, Xuan's eyes snapped open, his muscles tensing, nearly ready to trigger an attack spell. The newcomer, seeing the fierce aura Xuan exuded as if he was about to strike, seemed to recognize someone he had once fought. In that instant, both recognized each other's true identity. Tap, tap. Han Liuyun's footsteps were steady and firm, yet he kept a distance from Xuan. This time, he did not sit down in front of Xuan but stayed quite far away. Xuan asked calmly, "Did you come here looking for me?" Han Liuyun shook his head vigorously. "You think too much. I'm not interested in fighting you to the death. The cost-benefit ratio doesn't add up." He glanced around and then asked, "What about that cultivator in need of spiritual plant seeds? Did you devour him?" Xuan, "Is it possible, I'm just saying possible, that the commission was posted by me?" Han Liuyun looked astonished. "You don't seem like the type who enjoys farming. What do you need spiritual plant seeds for?" Xuan scoffed, "That's none of your business. Hand over the goods." From a distance, Han Liuyun tossed a storage bag. Xuan didn't catch it, instead, he let it fall to the ground. After a moment, ensuring there were no traps, he used the evil soul chain to lift it. Xuan nodded, "Good, everything I need is here. Name your price." Han Liuyun smiled, "Spiritual plant seeds are cheap, 30 small spiritual stones per caddy. There are 1,000 caddies of various seeds in there. You mentioned you have blood beads, let's settle in those." Xuan nodded, counted out some large blood beads, and tossed them over. Han Liuyun caught the blood beads and raised an eyebrow, "He Liang?" Xuan replied calmly, "Indeed." Han Liuyun stared at Xuan, shocked. He had been dealing with Xuan all along without penetrating his disguise. Despite priding himself on having unmatched skills in disguise, here was someone truly celestial before him. Han Liuyun clicked his tongue in admiration, "Your skill in disguise is strong. Could you teach me?" Xuan sneered, "Your hidden weapons are also impressive. Would you teach me those?" Search *the-novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After a moment's thought, Han Liuyun shook his head, "Forget it, I fear the day I teach you might be the day I drop dead." Both men backed away and simultaneously made a swift exit, their movements exceptionally synchronized. With his preparations complete, Xuan headed to the zombie farm near the Haotai Hotel. The zombie matriarch diligently produced small flesh pods there, each serving as a nurturing bed for the spiritual plants. Xuan then began his cultivation practices. He had to practice the turtle breath technique, the boiling blood scripture, the body-protecting golden wheel decree, and even glance through the venom scripture when he had the chance. Although he only intended to dabble lightly without going deep, it would still consume a considerable amount of time. Days passed one after another, and within a year, various spiritual plants matured successfully. Xuan began to attempt alchemy. Previously, he had only refined the Earth Evil Pill. However, the grade of the Earth Evil Pill was not high, only a low-grade foundation establishment stage pill. Now, the 3 types he was going to attempt were all high-grade and top-grade foundation establishment stage pills. Even though Xuan was somewhat prepared, he was still surprised by the low success rate of these 3 pills. It was incredibly low. For these 2 high-grade foundation establishment stage pills, he failed 6 furnaces before succeeding once. As for the top-grade foundation establishment stage pill, heaven-patching pill, he tried 7 times and failed each time. Xuan couldn't help shaking his head. It was too difficult. To be safe, it would be better to find a professional. "You want to find a top-grade foundation establishment alchemist?" That's not easy." Han Liuyun shook his head involuntarily after hearing Xuan's description. Foundation establishment low-grade alchemists were plentiful. Even Han Liuyun and Xuan themselves could refine foundation establishment low-grade pills. However, it was difficult to refine mid-grade pills and above. It would be best to find a professional alchemist who specialized in pill refinement. But finding a top-grade foundation establishment alchemist? That was not easy at all. Xuan could manage to take it a step further and trouble Wan Wuing directly to invite the Golden Core Elder of the Heavenly Seal sect to refine pills. But could he afford the price that they would ask for? Han Liuyun said, "I'll do my best to keep an eye out for heaven-patching pills and anyone who can refine them." Xuan nodded, "All right." He then flicked 3 large blood beads over as payment. Xuan continued his daily cultivation. His main cultivation technique was the blood evil demon refining scripture, supplemented by techniques like turtle breath technique and boiling blood technique. Benefiting from the endless evil chi and the replenishment of the large blood beads, he progressed smoothly. However, bang! A muffled explosion came from the pill furnace. Xuan opened the lid and found that the pill liquid inside had turned into a solidified, charred, and unrecognizable mass. Damn! Xuan frowned at the lump of charred matter and gave it the middle finger. It seemed that his talent in alchemy was still lacking. He could barely refine high-grade foundation establishment pills. But he had been failing continuously in refining top-grade foundation establishment pills. During this period, he had failed almost 20 furnaces, if not 30. All failures. Too difficult. Xuan casually threw out the charred lump. Bao quickly rushed over and swallowed it in one gulp. Its expression looked rather satisfied. Xuan was no longer surprised by its reaction. In fact, during this period of failed alchemy attempts, this little guy had eaten all the leftovers. He didn't know why it loved eating these things. Enjoying this book? Seek out the original to ensure the author gets credit. The mother-child stone broke. It seems there's a result. Xuan's eyes lit up. He quickly packed up and headed straight to the Nameless Market. The Nameless Market tea house. When Xuan arrived, Han Liuyun was already waiting there. He got straight to the point. I found what you asked me to look for. I found a top-tier foundation establishment alchemist at Mystical Sound Palace. You provide the materials, and she'll refine the pills. She charges 500 small spiritual stones for the alchemy, and she also requires 1 pill after it's refined. Xuan frowned. It's pricey, but acceptable. My only condition is that she refines the pills in front of me. Han Liuyun scratched his head. Alchemy in front of you? That's an unusual request. Let me ask her. He took out a sound-transmitting jade and sent his voice across. Soon, he received a response. The response was just one sentence. Okay, I'm coming right away. Xuan was puzzled. Isn't she at Mystical Sound Palace? Mystical Sound Palace's headquarters are in Qian Province, located in the central part of Yu Kingdom, 80,000 li from here. How could an alchemist from Mystical Sound Palace rush over here? Han Liuyun smiled. She's currently traveling through the 9 provinces of Yu Kingdom, purchasing alchemy materials in this market. As soon as he finished speaking, footsteps echoed up the stairs. Immediately after, a graceful figure walked in. If one had to describe her appearance, Xuan could only say, her features were delicate and exquisite. Small mouth, small nose, and eyes, also small. The woman looked at Xuan. My name is Xianxia. Are you here to refine the heaven-patching pills? Xuan nodded, tossing over a storage bag. All the materials are inside, enough to refine 2 furnaces of it. The alchemy fee is also included. Xianxia nodded. Good, I'll start the furnace now. The 3 of them entered a soundproof chamber. Xianxia took out a small bronze cauldron from the storage bag, ignited the spirit wood with flame arts, and heated the cauldron. Then she began to add various materials into the cauldron. The entire process flowed smoothly, done in one go. This level of proficiency could only come from refining dozens of heaven-patching pills. Xuan watched closely, without blinking. Han Liuyun snacked on pastries, smiling ambiguously. Stop staring. Without sufficient talent in alchemy, you won't learn a thing. We should stick to refining low-grade pills ourselves. High-grade pills like these should be left to professional alchemists. Xuan ignored him and continued to observe. It wasn't until Xianxia finished refining 2 furnaces of pills that he reluctantly looked away. Xianxia was surprised. Someone could actually watch her alchemy for over 5 hours without looking away. This person had remarkable perseverance, likely with some talent in alchemy. Maybe he really did learn something. Thinking of this, she felt a bit regretful. Her alchemy techniques were passed down exclusively within her family. If they were truly learned by an outsider just from observing once, she would probably become a sinner. Han Liuyun was also astonished. Did you learn something? Xian clicked his tongue, not really. Han Liuyun, Yan Xiao. Search * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xian smiled. He did manage to glean a little, but not much. Yan Zhao's alchemy technique was undoubtedly far superior to his pedestrian methods. That was beyond doubt. If he could obtain Yan Zhao's alchemy technique. Yan Xiao handed over a jade bottle. There's a small formation on the mouth of this bottle. It will only unlock by itself once I leave the boundaries of Wu province. If I come under attack, the formation will self-destruct. This transaction is complete. With that, Yan Xiao took the items and turned to leave. She showed no intention of lingering. Xian sneered, cutting it close. However, this female cultivator could refine top-grade foundation establishment-level pills, indicating considerable wealth. There might be a few people hiding in the shadows to protect her. As for this Han Liuyun, who knew if he was really a guardian? To play it safe, it was indeed unnecessary to provoke trouble. After Yan Xiao left, Han Liuyun whispered, "This woman is not simple. I received a commission from a disciple of the Heavenly Seal sect to kill her, but she always has 3 or 4 late foundation establishment stage cultivators protecting her. Later, she even found out about me." Xian asked, "And then?" Han Liuyun smiled, "Then she offered me 5 times the price. I firmly refused, saying the employer was my senior brother in the sect, my fellow disciple, and she immediately raised it to 10 times. You know, it's impossible to refuse." Xian scoffed, "Leave." Han Liuyun hurriedly said, "Don't go. I have a job here. Let's explore an ancient secret realm together. That place is full of treasures. Many opportunities. I've heard that many foundation establishment cultivators are planning to explore it." Xian shook his head, not interested. "I'd rather sit down and cultivate properly." Han Liuyun was puzzled, "But you're a demonic cultivator. How can you call yourself one without fighting and seizing opportunities?" Xian replied calmly, "I'm different from other demon cultivators. My cultivation is on putting down the butcher's knife and becoming a Buddha on the spot." Han Liuyun watched him walk away, speechless. After a long time, he sighed. This guy is so stubborn, trying to trick him is too difficult. Haotai Hotel, rooftop, Duan Faping, his limbs severed, howled weakly but received no response. Before his eyes, there was only a corpse puppet, intermittently stuffing large blood beads into his mouth to ensure he didn't perish. Duan Faping could only see thousands of flesh sacks lying in the zombie farm, covered in lush and dripping spirit plants. A gentle breeze caused them to sway continuously, yet to him, these things were no different from the devil's fangs. It was too terrifying. This place was simply hell. How had Xian found such a place? To continuously use flesh sacks to cultivate spirit plants. No wonder Xian possessed such terrifying strength. Duan Faping secretly tried to contact his master, Zhu Taiji, using a jade slip embedded in his flesh, injecting countless spiritual qi and sending numerous calls for help, but all signals sank without a trace, receiving no response at all. Duan Faping didn't know where exactly this place was. All he knew was that he was waiting for death. Buzz. Suddenly, a figure appeared before him without warning. Duan Faping focused and saw that it was Xian. His eyes widened in disbelief. How could Xian appear out of thin air? This was definitely not something a foundation establishment cultivator could possess. Heh. Heh. Duan Faping tried to speak, but his trachea had already been severed, only strange syllables escaping. Xian calmly said, "You've waited long enough. Don't worry, I'll soon send you on your way." Duan Faping, "Ah. I don't want to go. Don't come near me." Following the complete root seizing technique, Xian laid out the materials. Seizing spiritual roots was divided into 3 steps, extracting the spiritual roots, bearing the spiritual roots, and transplanting the spiritual roots. 3 types of pills corresponded to these steps. Among them, transplanting the spiritual roots was the most difficult. Foreign spiritual roots would react adversely with one's own body and had to be neutralized with heaven-patching pills. Xuan patted Duanfeiping's shoulder reassuringly, "It won't hurt too much. Relax." He directly took out a pill, the forbidden spirit pill, and pushed it into Duanfeiping's mouth. This pill would reduce Duanfeiping's affinity with the spiritual qi to the lowest level, temporarily separating his body from the spiritual roots. Sure enough, after dozens of breaths, Duanfeiping showed a look of horror. He felt like a mortal, completely unable to sense the existence of his spiritual roots. Xuan seized the opportunity. A short knife plunged directly into Duanfeiping's abdomen. The spiritual roots were located 3 inches deep in the qi sea. Once a cultivator died, the spiritual roots would immediately disappear. This was why Xuan hadn't killed Duanfeiping and had kept him alive until now. This story is posted elsewhere by the author. Help them out by reading the authentic version. Xuan's movements were swift and precise. In the blink of an eye, he extracted a complete spiritual root. Duanfeiping's spiritual root was purple-blue, with green and yellow on either side. These colors represented the attributes of thunder, wood, and metal. However, Duanfeiping's spiritual root was predominantly thunder attributed, with the wood and gold attributes so weak as to be almost non-existent, making it difficult to affect his absorption of thunder spiritual qi. It was because of this that the Heavenly Seal sect had classified his spiritual root as an ultimate grade thunder spiritual root. The spiritual root was soft and delicate, feeling like cartilage to the touch. Woo-woo. Duanfeiping cried out in pain, contorting like a twisted worm. The agony of having his spiritual root forcibly taken was beyond what an ordinary person could endure. Even as one of Heavenly Seal sect's top 3 disciples who had experienced numerous battles, he couldn't bear this pain. With a final stroke of the knife, Xuan ended Duanfeiping's life. He then took out another pill, dissolved it with spiritual qi, and injected it into the spiritual root. Gradually, the spiritual root hardened, forming a tough outer layer. Only then could the spiritual root temporarily exist outside the body. Otherwise, if left in the air for too long, the spiritual root would gradually vaporize until it completely disappeared. Xuan then took out another forbidden spirit pill, this time swallowing it himself. Taking a deep breath, he fiercely stabbed his qi si and forcefully extracted his own spiritual root. The empty space in his qi si couldn't accommodate more spiritual roots. To transplant someone else's spiritual root, he had to remove his own. Xianxia the novel, Azure.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The moment he extracted his spiritual root, Xuan felt as though he possessed all the cultivation in the world but couldn't sense even a trace of spiritual qi from heaven and earth. It was as if he had been completely cut off from the world. He picked up the exceptional thunder spiritual root and roughly stuffed it into his qi si. The intense rejection reaction caused him excruciating pain that penetrated to his bones. Cold sweat poured out. Veins bulged. Xuan quickly swallowed a prepared heaven-patching pill. Only then did the surging tide of pain gradually subside. Come here. Xuan shouted loudly. Who had been standing nearby, hurried over as fast as lightning. Following Xuan's command, it had already opened its own abdomen. Struggling to stand, Xuan inserted the wood spiritual root he had extracted from himself into whose belly. The strain on him reached its limit at that moment, and he passed out completely. When he woke up again, the wound on his abdomen had already healed. The exceptional thunder spiritual root had merged seamlessly with his body. He stood up, flexing his muscles slightly, sensing no abnormalities. Xuan thought for a moment, then called for Hu. He felt that even the medium-grade wood spiritual root shouldn't go to waste, so he attempted to insert it into Hu's belly, though he wasn't sure what changes would occur. Soon after, a figure appeared in the distance, bounding swiftly towards him. With a few leaps, the figure appeared before him. Xuan raised an eyebrow in surprise. He noticed that Hu's appearance had undergone significant changes. Its fierce and angular body had softened, and its hollow eyes now showed a human-like gaze. who opened its mouth, but instead of roar, 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 it emitted a few unpleasant syllables. Xuan became alert. Try harder. Who cleared its throat and growled in annoyance, but ultimately only managed to produce a few incomprehensible syllables. It looked somewhat frustrated and lowered its head. Xuan pondered. Although it couldn't yet speak human language, its lively eyes seemed genuine. The combination of a corpse puppet's body and a cultivator's spiritual root seemed to have created an unexpected creation. Spiritual root, corpse puppet. There must have been demonic cultivators who tried this before, but did they succeed? Xuan mused, finding it increasingly intriguing. Don't be anxious, one day, you'll surely speak, Xuan reflected with some emotion. Ho, who nodded. Normally, a corpse puppet had to condense corpse core to become a corpse commander before it could speak, albeit with a simple vocabulary. Who, as a corpse general, was already producing syllables. In the future, it would only get faster than an ordinary corpse puppet. Corpse puppet's body is robust. With a spiritual root, it can absorb spiritual chi from heaven and earth, and even learn the techniques and spells of cultivators. I feel like I've created a monster, Xuan marveled. Chapter 106, The Method of Condensing the Golden Core Plus, Turn Off Reset. Xuan sat cross-legged, quietly cultivating. The attributes of his spiritual root underwent fundamental changes. Normally, this would necessitate switching to a new primary cultivation technique. However, doing so would mean completely dispersing his previous cultivation and starting anew. Xuan had already advanced to the late foundation establishment stage. Dispersing his cultivation would render the years of effort he had invested utterly in vain, a consequence too heavy for anyone to bear. Yet, such considerations applied to orthodox cultivators. For those on the demonic path, who possessed means to seize spiritual roots, maintaining existing cultivation without dispersing it was a feasible capability. The blood evil demon refining scripture was one such unique technique. As a demonic cultivation method, it inherently possessed the ability to alter its own attributes. Originally a wood attribute technique, through repeated operations, the spiritual chi within a demonic cultivator's body could also change accordingly. It could even be transformed into variant attributes like thunder or wind. Moreover, since thunder belonged to yang wood and wind to yin wood, transforming the blood evil demon refining scripture into a thunder attribute technique was actually simpler than converting it into other elemental attributes. To transform the technique, only a thunder attribute spiritual material was needed, thunder striking wood. See the Nafire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In front of Xuan appeared a section of charred thunder striking wood. At its lower end, a tender shoot had just sprouted. Thunder, capable of destruction unparalleled, also harbored the power to foster life with the arrival of spring thunder and the first rain of spring, sprouting myriad beings. Thunder striking wood could also enhance Xuan's acquired spiritual body, achieving dual benefits with a single effort. Such a small section of thunder striking would contain two attributes and multiple powers, its mysteries boundless. Thunder striking wood was of a high grade. This piece, a top-grade foundation establishment material, had cost Xuan 300 small spiritual stones to acquire. He hadn't utilized Han Liuyun's channels but instead entrusted Chingge to make the purchase. Although this approach was slower and more expensive, it was safer. Xuan wasn't foolish enough to entrust all transactions to Han Liuyun, as that could easily expose his intentions. Han Liuyun, possessing only a superior-grade spiritual root, secretly surpassed Duan Faping in strength and seemed to wield an extensive intelligence network, an unquestionably formidable individual. It was precisely because Xuan and Han Liuyun possessed similar strengths that neither of them acted rashly. They proceeded with caution in their collaboration, each carefully testing the other's abilities. If Xuan were to discover one day that Han Liuyun had weakened or suffered serious injury, he would not hesitate to eliminate this individual who knew so many of his secrets. He believed that Han Liuyun would likely do the same. Throughout, Xuan had always regarded Han Liuyun as someone to be used, useful when beneficial, discarded when not, with no further discussion needed. A case of theft, this story is not rightfully on Amazon. If you spot it, report the violation. Xuan immediately began refining the thunder-striking wood with spiritual qi. Rich thunder spiritual qi and wood spiritual qi surged into his body. Spiritual qi flowed continuously within him. Following the path of the blood evil demon refining scripture, which altered it into thunder attribute. 1 cycle, 2 cycles, 3 cycles. With each successive operation, the spiritual qi underwent constant changes. After a day, it finally completely transformed from wood attribute spiritual qi to thunder attribute spiritual qi. Phew! Xuan let out a sigh of relief. That was finally accomplished. Moreover, due to the formidable lethality of thunder spiritual qi, the spells he cast henceforth would also be imbued with the power of lightning. When facing cultivators of the same realm, he would mostly dominate the battlefield. Coupled with his hidden cards, even Foundation Establishment 8th layer cultivators were not his match. Water Curtain Cave. The moment Xuan appeared, he detected a sound transmission array within the formation. It was Wan Wuying's. Thus, he arrived at Wan Wuying's cave residence. With a rumble, the cave residence opened. Wan Wuying was not sitting on the bone throne but joyfully pacing back and forth. Next to the bone throne stood a robust, dark figure. Its body was over 1 zhang tall, muscles bulging, and veins protruding like dragons. The aura emanating from it made Xuan's scalp tingle. He had no doubt that this was a corpse commander equivalent to a golden core cultivator. Wan Wuying smiled faintly. While I was healing, I took the opportunity to refine the corpse of 100 Gu Daoist into a corpse commander. Xuan hurriedly bowed. Master's demonic arts are unparalleled. In the future, you will certainly step into the nascent soul, sweep through the world, and recreate infinite sex glory. Wan Wuying waved dismissively. Forget it. Infinite sect is down to just a handful of us. What glory is there to recreate? Let it dissipate completely into the dust of history. Xuan clicked his tongue. He wondered how Wan Wuying could be more detached than himself. Wan Wuying casually continued, I summoned you this time to teach you the method of condensing the golden core. Xuan immediately perked up, feeling as though he had been called by his superior for a meeting, only to unexpectedly receive a promotion. Please, have a seat. Wan Wuying gestured towards a cushion nearby. Xuan sat down on it. Wan Wuying cleared his throat and began, there are 4 methods for condensing the golden core. The first is to compress spiritual liquid until it solidifies completely, forming the full golden core. This is the most orthodox method, resulting in extremely robust spiritual qi once formed. However, it is also the slowest. Without at least a decade, one cannot fully solidify the spiritual liquid. If you do not possess an earthgrade or higher spiritual root, this path is not for you. Of course, if you insist on choosing this path, I have a secret technique called the 9 cycles core condensation method, passed down from ancient times. You can take it directly. Wan Wuying clicked his tongue and continued. After the ancient times, as spiritual qi faded, the orthodox method of core condensation became exceedingly difficult. Later generations of cultivators sought alternative paths. The second method involves using a demonic beast's inner core as a catalyst, injecting spiritual liquid into it to forcibly solidify it using the inner core's power. This type of golden core is generally referred to as the beast golden core. The overall amount of spiritual qi in a beast golden core is moderate, but its combat prowess is formidable. However, due to the use of a demonic beast's inner core, practitioners may sometimes be prone to the beast's instincts, bloodlust, light aversion, and water affinity. I have 2 secret techniques for core condensation using this method. The Fire Ape Core condensation method requires the inner core of a fire attribute ape demonic beast. The Thunder Falcon Core condensation method requires the inner core of a thunder attribute bird demonic beast. Seeing Xuan's lack of response, Wan Wuying continued speaking. The third method involves using a magic tool as a catalyst to condense the core. This type of golden core is known as the instrument golden core. Depending on the type of magic tool, It may also be called sword golden core, saber golden core, axe golden core, and so on. Golden cores condensed using this method generally have less spiritual chi than beast golden cores. However, if one can manipulate the same type of magic tool, its power will greatly increase, such as a sword golden core wielding a sword magic tool or a saber golden core wielding a saber magic tool. I do not possess secret techniques for this condensation method, you will need to seek them out yourself. Han Liuyun spoke calmly. Next, there is a fourth method, which I personally chose. Extract the chi seeds of 100 foundation establishment cultivators and refine them into chi seed pills. Swallow 100 pills, and a golden core forms naturally. This type of golden core is called the blood golden core. Xuan's heart trembled upon hearing this. Full golden core, beast golden core, instrument golden core, blood golden core. Without the dense spiritual chi of ancient times, cultivators still relied on their own wisdom to create new methods of core formation. Han Liuyun casually said, "So, which one do you want?" After careful consideration, Xuan replied earnestly, "I want them all." Han Liuyun rolled his eyes. Nevertheless, he reached out and retrieved 4 volumes from his storage bag. They were respectively titled, 9 Cycles Core Condensation Method, Fire Ape Core Condensation Method, Thunder Falcon Core Condensation Method, and Chi Si Core Condensation Method. Since the In Extreme Cave now has only one foundation establishment disciple like you, I have no one else to nurture, Han Liuyun said, waving his hand to dismiss Xuan. After Xuan left, Han Liuyun chuckled to himself, which method will this kid choose in the end? Upon leaving the cave residence, Xuan returned to the Blue Star and settled down, carefully studying the 4 methods of core condensation. The 9 cycles core condensation method is so difficult, it requires 9 complete consolidations and recoveries. Who has that much lifespan to spare? As for the Thunder Falcon core condensation method, it seems to be the quickest method for me now. I just need to find the inner cores of 9 thunder attribute bird demonic beasts at the foundation establishment stage. As for the Chi Si core condensation method, it is also an option. However, if I were to kill 100 cultivators at the late foundation establishment stage and refine their Chi Cs, it would certainly differ significantly from killing 100 at the early stage. 100 at the late foundation establishment stage. I'll need to completely overturn the righteous sects to achieve that, won't I? Xuan shook his head. Priority to the Thunder Falcon core condensation method, with the Chi Si core condensation method as a backup. Xuan immediately sent a message to Chengge, asking him to keep an eye out for the inner cores of thunder attribute bird demonic beasts at the foundation establishment stage. He then resumed his cultivation. With the ultimate grade thunder spiritual root, his cultivation speed increased significantly. However, upon reaching the late foundation establishment stage, the amount of spiritual chi required for each minor breakthrough was far greater than in the middle stage. After sitting motionless in the soul-capturing evil nurturing array for half a year, Xuan's spiritual chi had only increased by a small amount. During this period, the war between the Heavenly Seal sect and the local factions in Wu province generally came to an end. A golden core cultivator from Imperial Spirit Mountain was severely injured but had to swallow his grievances. The story has been illicitly taken, should you find it on Amazon, report the infringement. A rare period of peace descended over the Wu province area. As for the eastern 3 provinces of Blue Star, with Xuan's presence, peace reigned even more profoundly. There were no significant disturbances. Xuan quite enjoyed this slow-paced life. Every day was spent practicing cultivation, refining pills, and raising insects. Occasionally, he would release his 3 corpses, Long, Hu, and Bao, to roam freely like unrestrained wild dogs. For Xuan, this peaceful farming life surpassed all the bloodshed, heroic pursuits, and fate-stealing endeavors. Extreme Cave. Xuan, as the senior brother of Extreme Cave, sat at the head seat. Beside him were 2 foundation establishment disciples, a young man and a woman. The young man, Su Ming, exuded confidence, yet his gaze towards Xuan was filled with deep respect. Li Xiaoman, the female disciple, introduced herself as a member of the corpse puppet sect. Previously a loose cultivator in Qian province, she promptly joined upon hearing of Han Liuyun's establishment of Extreme Yin Cave under the Heavenly Seal sect. The corpse puppet sect had been annihilated by the five righteous sects over 300 years ago. Most of its lineage was absorbed by the righteous sects, while the remainder fell under the infinite sect, which subsequently developed some corpse refining techniques. Li Xiaoman, only at the early foundation establishment stage, found a smooth entry into Extreme Yin Cave due to Han Liuyun's possession of foundation establishment stage techniques from the corpse puppet sect and the lack of foundation establishment disciples. Li Xiaoman was not exceptionally beautiful but had a slender waist. She sat upright, her piercing gaze revealing a sharp and imposing demeanor. At the highest point of the dojo sat Han Liuyun, the founder of Extreme Yin Cave. Within the dojo, 76 spiritual seedlings gathered, ranging in cultivation from no spiritual qi to the third level of qi refining. Among them were ordinary folks from Tong province, descendants of immortal cultivation families, and local natives of Wu province who had suffered under the oppression of the Thousand Insects sect. Now, having passed rigorous selection processes, they were all accepted into Extreme Yin Cave. Han Liuyun did not accept qi refining disciples himself. As the eldest senior brother, Chu Xian acted as the representative to accept new disciples. However, he acknowledged that while his strength was considerable, he was not adept at teaching. Thus, he entrusted the crucial task of guiding and instructing disciples to those who genuinely loved such responsibilities and life itself. His primary hope was for his junior brothers and sisters to gain experience, not merely to be an absentee manager. The disciple induction ceremony quickly concluded, and Han Liuyun rose immediately. The disciples collectively shouted, "Farewell, Patriarch." "Chu Xian, you handle things from here," Han Liuyun instructed before disappearing. Chu Xian swiftly assigned half of the disciples to Su Ming and the other half to Li Xiaoman, then left the dojo with an air of leisure, leaving his junior siblings in a state of astonishment. "Senior sister, what will you teach the disciples?" "I'd like to learn," Su Ming scratched his head. Li Xiaoman glanced at him and replied nonchalantly, "Dissection, corpse refining, ghost nurturing, puppet refining, and a bit of poison technique." Su Ming cautiously took a step back. "I understand, senior sister, no need to say more. It's quite creepy." Sia the novel, F.ir. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After the disciple induction ceremony concluded, calm returned once more. Extreme Yin Cave gradually expanded its influence. Under the diligent efforts of the disciples, who tirelessly relocated ordinary people and established mortal cities, the territory of Extreme Yin Cave continued to expand. Chu Xian's 3 corpse commanders devoured a significant amount of foundation establishment cultivators' flesh and blood, rapidly advancing their realms. Among them, who, with the highest cultivation, had even reached the 8th level corpse commander stage, surpassing Chu Xian by a hair's breadth. His lifebound Gu had also reached the mid-second transformation stage, while the Queen Bee Gu was accelerating in growth and had already reached the late first transformation stage. The worker bees it produced numbered in the thousands, with blood honey slowly accumulating and numerous soldier bee eggs lying dormant. At the Queen Bee's command, they would hatch immediately, transforming into formidable forces. Everything prospered, yet Chu Xian remained somewhat discontented. He was still at the 7th level of foundation establishment, unable to break through to the 8th. The Thunderbird demonic beast core that Chen Gu was tasked with finding had yet to be located. However, since establishing his family, Chen Gu had swiftly woven a vast intelligence network. Regularly, he sent Chu Xian various pieces of information, keeping him informed of all external changes down to the smallest detail. Chapter 108, Chu Xian prefers to cultivate good karma plus, turn off reset. In the south, the Kingdom of Yu has expanded its territory under the heaven-burning sect, capturing much of the oasis within the boundless desert, establishing mortal cities. To the north, the Kingdom of Yan's 100 Refinement sect has crossed into southern territories, engaging in several significant battles with the heaven-burning sect. Both sides suffered casualties among their foundational cultivators, including some elders. Tensions are rising along the border. conflicts among the various sects of the Yu kingdom seemed never-ending. What a harmonious and friendly assembly of righteous sections. Xuan chuckled. Once the threat of the infinite sect was removed, the 5 righteous sects would inevitably vie for their own interests, likely following the paths of dominance set by the 100 Refinements sect and the Heaven-burning sect, with one sect rising above all others to bring an end to the conflicts. Xuan took out a map. This was a map he had purchased for 1,000 small spiritual stones. It encompassed the kingdoms of Yu, Yan, and Yu in their entirety. These 3 kingdoms bordered each other in pairs. Between Yu and Yu lay the boundless desert. Between Yu and Yan flowed a vast and mighty river. Furthermore, there existed long-standing enmity between Yan and Yu. Only cultivators from Yu could live relatively peacefully. An underground ruin has surfaced in the misty mountains, where some cultivators have inadvertently stumbled upon a wealth of magic tools buried underground for many years, even some magic treasures? Xuan's eyebrows raised at this intelligence. The emergence of underground ruins meant that numerous cultivators would flock there. This would inevitably lead to bloodshed, chaos, and death. For demonic cultivators, this was an unprecedented opportunity. Xuan had no intention of personally wading into this quagmire. The underground ruins were too dangerous. Since treasures were emerging, Golden Core experts would be the main force exploring these ruins. As a mere Foundation establishment cultivator, how could he dare to compete with Golden Core cultivators? Perhaps, in the eyes of some Golden Core cultivators, he himself was also a tempting target. However, this did not deter Xuan from conducting business near the underground ruins. Since many cultivators were rushing there, a trading market would naturally form around the ruins. Items like demonic talismans, evil elixirs, blood beads, and other such goods that could rapidly enhance one's strength would immediately become scarce commodities. During this time, Xuan could search for other condensing core methods. Perhaps there was one more suitable for him. Leaving aside other matters, a mid-grade method like the Thunder Falcon condensing core method could be replaced with a high-grade or even top-grade foundational method, which would be excellent. Xuan carefully reviewed all the intelligence Chenggu had provided. He did not fully trust the information provided by Chenggu. In his view, anyone could betray him, even turn against him. This novel is published on a different platform. Support the original author by finding the official source. Even if Chenggu saw potential in him and was willing to work for him, there was a possibility that one day he might be controlled by someone stronger and used for their purposes. Relying too much on Chenggu's intelligence network was not a wise decision. At the very least, he needed to cross-reference information from 2 sources. However, Xuan currently lacked the capability to establish 2 intelligence networks. He could only rely on the intelligence provided by Han Liuyun and Chenggu to cross-check each other. A few days later, the Misty Market. Although the war between the Heavenly Seal sect and the indigenous sects of Wu province had ended, the nameless market in this region persisted. Perhaps due to the surrounding mist, cultivators had come to call it the Misty Market. Over time, someone with intention erected a plaque at the entrance of the market, bearing the 2 words, Misty Market. Xuan sat calmly in a window seat of the tea house, waiting patiently. Before long, a hidden weapon whistled through the window from outside. 3 smaller projectiles suddenly split off from it when they were 3 meters away from Xuan, each emitting a dangerous green glow, clearly poisoned. Xuan made no move. 3 demon claws accurately caught the 3 hidden weapons. Han Liuyun's laughter echoed from downstairs, gradually approaching. How about this move? It's my newly developed mother-child dart. Xuan replied calmly, not bad. Han Liuyun clicked his tongue in amazement. To receive your approval, I am honored indeed. With a wave of his hand, he released a puff of smoke to neutralize the faint poison in the air. Your progress in poisoning is impressive. I'm starting to feel some pressure. Xuan remained composed. During this period, he had been studying the venom scripture and gained some insights. Whenever they met, they would test each other. So he decided to use Han Liuyun to test his newly researched poison. If Han Liuyun didn't die from the poison, it meant his poison skills were still inadequate, and he needed to continue his studies. If Han Liuyun did die one day, it would mean his poison skills had reached perfection. Han Liuyun continued, to the point, I invited you here this time because I wanted. Chu Xian interrupted calmly, the underground ruins of the Misty Mountains. Han Liuyun looked slightly surprised, you already know? It seems your intelligence isn't lacking compared to mine. Chu Xian lightly tapped the table, are you planning to enter? Han Liuyun nodded, I've noticed a slight change in your demeanor, you must have obtained Duan Faping's spiritual root. Unlike me, with only a superior grade spiritual root. Typically, those with superior grade spiritual roots have only a 20% chance of embarking on the Golden Core path. It's too low. In those underground ruins, treasures have already surfaced. There must be spiritual objects beneficial for core formation. I have no choice but to go. Chu Xian nodded. Such was the fate of a cultivator. One's entire life was filled with risks. Spirit stones, magic tools, spiritual objects, elixirs, formations, everything drove cultivators tirelessly forward. Han Liuyun, seeing Chu Xian's calm demeanor, asked in astonishment, you're not going? Perhaps there's a path to the Golden Core waiting for you there. Chu Xian shook his head, as I've said, I don't enjoy killing. I prefer to cultivate good karma. Han Liuyun replied with a hint of disbelief, if I hadn't seen you kill before, I might have believed you. Oh, Wang Jingyu wanted to meet with you through me, saying he wanted to spar with you. I declined on your behalf, Han Liuyun added. Chu Xian nodded, good choice to decline. He had no interest in sparring with others. It was not only a waste of energy but also risked exposing his true abilities. Afterward, they exchanged some items and departed in different directions. Han Liuyun never took the same path Chu Xian had walked. And Chu Xian did the same. SEA the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Blue Star. Chu Xian arrived at the rooftop of the Haotai Hotel. A substantial amount of intelligence gathered by Black Blade was laid out before him. Although Blue Star was just a small planet with extremely poor spiritual chi, the resurgence of psionics here had subtly begun to alter all living beings on this planet. Perhaps one day, something unexpected might appear. That's why he needed to remain vigilant at all times. Even in what he considered his backyard, he couldn't afford to make mistakes. According to survivors who fled, the man-eating vines in the west are expanding. Several level 5 superhumans died surrounded by these vines. In the south, venomous insects are becoming stronger, dominated by swarms of locusts that are migrating towards the coast, devouring all vegetation along the way. Chapter 109, The Cultivation World is Too Dangerous Plus, Turn Off Reset. In the north, the zombie Empress continues to expand her territory, but instead of heading south, she is moving westward, where she has encountered the expanding man-eating vines. Additionally, there's a faction known as Science City rapidly growing, commanding at least 30 superhumans and absorbing remnants of the Linjiang army, also locking horns with the zombie Empress. In the east, only a few scattered factions exist, with just 2 or 3 superhumans. Current situation from Black Blade, 11 level 1 superhumans, 5 level 2 superhumans, 2 level 3 superhumans, overseeing over 3,000 survivors. Chu Xian nodded slightly as he read. It seemed that Wang Gang and his team truly valued the opportunity he had given them initially. They were handling things systematically. Originally, Chu Xian had some thoughts about the zombie Empress. However, the zombie matriarch had already been nurtured into a level 5 zombie, and it was foreseeable that her rank would continue to rise. The zombie Empress was probably even more formidable now. Chu Xian had lost interest in dealing with that creature. As for the formations and collapses of other superhuman factions, he regarded them as no more interesting than children playing house. Continue researching the Venom scripture. Chu Xian spread out the scrolls and studied them attentively. Mystic Azure Realm, 1 month later. Chu Xian received another report from Chenggu. With Chu Xian's approval, most of this report focused on the underground ruins of the Misty Mountains. Chenggu was proficient in his work. he had sent people directly to the nameless market outside the underground ruins, continuously spending money to gather intelligence. This was the only way to present the most complete, detailed, and up-to-date information to Xuan as quickly as possible. The largest entrance to the underground ruins, located in the Bullhorn Mountain of the Misty Mountains, is now occupied by the Divine Star sect. The remaining large entrances are located on several other peaks, some occupied by the Divine Star sect, and others by the Heavenly Seal sect and the Imperial Spirit Mountain. The Mystical Sound Palace and the Golden Dragon Temple have already had Golden Core cultivators arrive at the Misty Mountains. The Orthodox sects are on the verge of conflict, likely to escalate into open conflict. The first batch of cultivators to enter the underground ruins numbered 50 to 60 people. Fewer than a handful survived, and without exception, these survivors reaped rich rewards. Some were recruited by the Divine Star sect, while others were killed by major sect cultivators for refusing to hand over spiritual objects. Xuan pondered. It appeared that within those underground ruins lay treasures enticing enough to attract Golden Core cultivators. Otherwise, it wouldn't have drawn Golden Core cultivators from all 5 Orthodox sects, nearly causing them to fight each other. This story originates from a different website. Ensure the author gets the support they deserve by reading it there. Given this situation, he couldn't afford to take unnecessary risks. See the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xuan continued reading. The latest intelligence report arrived 2 days ago. Xuan's gaze sharpened as he read it. The Orthodox sects have announced today that they will allow minor sect disciples and loose cultivators to enter the underground ruins, but each person must pay a price of 30 small spiritual stones. Allow? Xuan shook his head in disbelief. If the treasures inside the underground ruins are truly as rumored, how could the Orthodox sects possibly give other cultivators such an opportunity? They would prefer to seal off the entire Misty Mountains, preventing anyone from entering, not even a bug's egg. The Orthodox sects are far from being true cultivators of righteousness, he continued. And the major sect cultivators are far from being noble. This sudden move must have some ulterior motive. Xuan recalled another matter. Han Liuyun hasn't contacted me for a long time. His strength is comparable to mine, and there has been no word from him since he went to the underground ruins. Combined with the sudden benevolence of the Orthodox sects, Xuan pondered, perhaps there are dangers in the underground ruins that ordinary people cannot comprehend. This move by the Orthodox sects is likely intended to use minor sect disciples and loose cultivators as fodder, to explore the path ahead. Xuan shook his head repeatedly. As a precaution, he decided to postpone his journey to the Misty Mountains for now. 2 days later, a message suddenly appeared in the water curtain cave. Xuan read it and was surprised to find it was from Wan Wuying. The underground ruins are actually the ghost palace of the Nether Dao sect. I have already gone there to search for treasures. Whether you go or not, it's your choice. Xuan's brow relaxed. Finally, his master gave him a hint. If he hadn't received any hints, he would have gone to find Wan Wuying himself. The Nether Dao sect, it rings a bell. Xuan strained to recall the ancient texts he had read. Wan Wuying had a penchant for collecting ancient texts, and Xuan had managed to read some in his spare time. I remember now, Xuan said to himself. The Nether Dao sect was a colossal demonic sect. At its peak, it occupied territories spanning 8 kingdoms including Yen, Yu, and Yu. Later, due to the disappearance of their ancestral land and conflicts among the elders for power and profit, it fragmented into over a dozen major sects, including the Infinite sect and the Corpse Puppet sect. Xuan's eyes lit up. Such an ancient and massive sect. The Infinite sect was just one of its branches. No wonder even Wan Wuying, usually composed, couldn't resist the temptation and went straight to this so-called ghost palace. However, Xuan's momentary excitement quickly subsided, and he returned his thoughts to more practical considerations. It wasn't right to go, he shouldn't go, and there was no need to go. In fact, he might even need to start worrying about his own safety. With so many golden core cultivators vying for a share at the ghost palace of the Nether Dao sect, could his master survive? Once Han Liuyun was gone, Xuan would lose his support and have to find another path. Moreover, the 100 Refinements sect of the Yin Kingdom and the Heaven-burning sect of the Yu Kingdom, who knew what intentions they harbored. The tensions between these two sects were palpable, seemingly on the brink of open conflict. If they caught wind of the emergence of the Ghost Palace, how would they react? Thinking this through, Xuan was suddenly alarmed. From the beginning, he had felt that the spread of information about the underground ruins was unexplainably fast. Perhaps someone was deliberately stirring up trouble behind the scenes. Now, he couldn't rule out the involvement of the Heaven-burning sect and the 100 Refinements sect. The cultivation world is too dangerous, I'm going back to Blue Star. Xuan shook his head repeatedly. I must keep a close watch on the information about the Ghost Palace ruins and be prepared to flee. If there's any trouble, I'll directly head for Blue Star. Xuan sighed deeply. If the master doesn't strive, the disciple suffers. It's tough. At that moment, there was a sound from outside, not a message, but someone visiting. Xuan inspected and was surprised to find junior brother Su Ming and junior sister Li Xiaoman. Why have you two come? Xuan flashed out of the cave to meet them. Excitedly, Su Ming exclaimed, Senior brother. Master has sent me a message saying that the underground ruins in the Misty Mountains are the Ghost Palace of the Nether Dao sect. I plan to form a team to go to the Ghost Palace. Senior brother, would you be willing to join us? Xuan looked directly at Li Xiaoman. And you? Li Xiaoman clasped her hands respectfully before speaking earnestly, Senior brother, I too received Master's message. I wanted to ask whether Senior brother intends to go to the Ghost Palace to seek treasures. Her demeanor was serious and dignified, clearly awaiting Xuan's response. Xuan looked at the enthusiastic Su Ming and a composed Li Xiaoman and simply smiled. Chapter 110, Setting a Small Goal for Oneself Plus, Turn Off Reset. Xuan spoke calmly, Junior brother Su may go if he wishes, there's no need to ask me. As for myself, with this major issue at the Extreme Yin Cave, I must keep watch. I cannot leave, he continued. Su Ming looked somewhat disappointed and hurriedly persuaded, Senior brother, but the remnants of the Nether Dao sect are there. Once we find some treasures. He trailed off. Xuan waved his hand dismissively, I need to focus on my cultivation. With that, he vanished in a flash. Su Ming felt even more disappointed, glancing at Li Xiaoman. Senior sister, shall we go together? After careful consideration, Li Xiaoman shook her head. No, I will stay here to teach the disciples. Sighing deeply, Su Ming muttered, we cultivators should strive forward courageously. I didn't expect both senior brother and senior sister to retreat. He controlled his flying magic tool and left in the blink of an eye. Li Xiaoman cast a few more glances at Xuan's cave, lost in thought, before departing in the opposite direction. Xuan sat cross-legged in his cave, smiling lightly. You can't reason with a mad dog. He could see it at a glance, no matter what he said, Su Ming would go to the Ghost Palace. As for Li Xiaoman, she truly lived up to her background as a demonic cultivator refined from a loose cultivator. Only those who know how to avoid danger and seek fortune can live long. 5 days later. Xuan, who had been closely monitoring the situation, received 2 pieces of new information from Chenggu. A large number of disciples from small sects and loose cultivators had entered the underground ruins, and most of them had not returned. However, a small number of cultivators brought back treasures from the ruins. The cultivators from the righteous 5 sects immediately decided to enter the underground ruins. Han Liuyun, Su Ming, they should have gone in, Xuan mused. The Ghost Palace. I wonder how many more lost souls it will claim, he sighed lightly. Another 5 days passed. Chenggu personally came to the entrance of Xuan's water curtain cave to pay respects. Xuan was somewhat surprised. Why did you come by yourself? Chen Ji's face was solemn as if shrouded in an unbreakable dark cloud. He said gravely, Uncle Master, something big has happened. Xuan prompted, go on. Only then did Qingge speak in a grave tone. Around the underground ruins, there's a dense black mist covering the sky, even shrouding half of the misty mountains. Some demonic beasts trying to escape were instantly drained of their essence by the black mist, turning into dried corpses. It's said that a cultivator in the late Foundation establishment stage tried to save his fellow Daoist, rushed into the black mist, and within a few breaths, he was drained of flesh and blood essence. The informant I had placed there is already dead. I learned this from a surviving cultivator. You might be reading a stolen copy. Visit Royal Road for the authentic version. Chu Xian's heart raced. A major event. Indeed, this was a colossal matter. The Ghost Palace was definitely not a treasure trove easily accessible to just anyone. Even if there were treasures, they were not something ordinary people could take. Qingge continued, there's also. Chu Xian furrowed his brow and then relaxed it. I understand. Is it the northern or southern sects? Which one has shown movement? Qingge looked at Chu Xian with reverence, nodding repeatedly. Several days ago, a team of cultivators from the Heaven-burning sect stormed into the Wu province. The main halls of the Heavenly Seal sect, located in the southern reaches of the Wu province, have already been occupied by the Heaven-burning sect. From their direction, they are heading straight for the main hall of the Heavenly Seal sect. Whether there are Golden Core experts among them is still unclear. But I guess there must be. Chu Xian sighed lightly. The situation had become clear. Adjustments were indeed necessary. Anxious, Qingge asked, Uncle Master, what should I do? Could you please give me some guidance? Chu Xian replied calmly, you are immortal without an immortal family. Qingge paused, then realized, I have married 4 concubines, and own 6 mansions and over a dozen shops. Before he could finish, realization dawned on him, a deep sorrow flickering in his eyes. I understand now, Uncle Master. With that, he turned and left. As he departed, he wiped away tears and said in a heavy voice, Qingge is leaving. Uncle Master, please take care. Chu Xian merely nodded slightly. Chu Xian piloted the green shadow shuttle to the highest peak of the boundary in the Extremine Cave. Here lay the cemetery of fallen cultivators from the Extremine Cave. Now, there was only one grave mound here. On the tombstone were engraved a few large characters. Senior brother Lu Zhenxiong's grave, erected by junior brother Chu Xian. Chu Xian had never been proficient in calligraphy since childhood, so the carved characters weren't very pleasing to the eye. They couldn't be called elegantly flowing, at best, they were crooked and slanted. Senior brother, it's rare for me to visit you. Please don't blame me. Now that there's been a change, I'm also planning to leave. In our Extremine Cave, Li Xianming was killed by me, Wu Ting betrayed us, and Su Ming has reached Foundation establishment and probably won't last long. Among the former Qi refining disciples, only Qingge is still alive. I don't know if he can survive this catastrophe. Maybe when I come back next time even Master might be gone. Chu Xian shook his head incessantly. Cultivation was so cruel. Those around you would disappear one by one. Perhaps only those who understood the art of survival could endure till the end. Chu Xian dismantled most of the formation in the water curtain cave, leaving only the simplest mist array. As for the formation soul, twin-headed python, he naturally took it back. Chu Xian piloted the green shadow shuttle northward all the way. He stopped only when he was about to reach the boundary of the Imperial Spirit Mountains. It's just you. Chu Xian looked at the towering mountain in front of him, took out the evil soul chain, and vigorously pounded it, quickly smashing open a cave in the mountain. The cave was very rudimentary, with only a stone bed. Then he arranged various arrays such as the mist array, warning array, gathering spirit array, and killing array. Only then did he sit cross-legged. Chu Xian traveled between the 2 realms through the blood mirror, with each drop-off point fixed. If he crossed from the water curtain cave to the blue star, then the next time he returned to the mystic Azure realm, he would still appear at the water curtain cave. Who knew what awaited him then? So he chose to establish a rudimentary cave in this remote and thinly inhabited place with sparse spiritual qi. Leaving the mystic Azure realm again, Setting a small goal for myself, reaching Foundation Establishment 9th layer before returning. Xuan didn't linger, immediately using the blood mirror to cross over to the blue star. Shortly after Xuan left the mystic Azure realm, a team consisting of 4 Golden Core experts and 30 Foundation Establishment cultivators from the Heaven-burning sect swept through the Wu province like a sharp blade, heading directly for the main camp of the Heavenly Seal sect. Most of the Golden Core cultivators of the Heavenly Seal sect had entered the Ghost Palace in search of treasures. The remaining Golden Core cultivators left behind were nowhere near enough to resist the well-prepared and well-equipped team from the Heaven-burning sect. In the end, the nascent soul master of the Heavenly Seal sect came out of seclusion. The long-awaited nascent soul master of the Heaven-burning sect immediately engaged in battle. The two sides fought fiercely for 7 days and 7 nights, breaking mountains, cutting off rivers, and altering countless landscapes. Ultimately, the nascent soul master of the Heavenly Seal sect was slightly inferior in strength, severely injured, and managed to escape. The morale of the Heaven-burning sect cultivators soared, and under the leadership of their nascent soul master, they directly attacked and shattered the mountain protection formation, annihilating the main hall of the Heavenly Seal sect. Subsequently, the Heaven-burning sect launched a massive invasion, completely occupying all the halls and strongholds wherever they passed. The ordinary people, who worked by sunrise and rested by sunset, had no idea that the colossal entity looming over them had been completely replaced by an even larger one in just over 10 days. See the novel, Azure.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. All the turmoil of the mystic Azure realm had now become fleeting smoke in the wind. Xuan reclined leisurely on a soft velvet chaise lounge. The venom scripture floated before him, turning its pages without any wind. Xuan's right hand moved ceaselessly, various poison powders swirling out inadvertently. The poisons within the venom scripture could harm cultivators in various ways. Some could damage the soul, others could cause bleeding from the throat, some could hinder spiritual qi, and others could drive one into a bloodthirsty frenzy. However, at the Foundation Establishment level, with the protection of spiritual qi shields, it was difficult for poison powders to infiltrate through the mouth or nose. So Xuan was currently studying the art of poisoning silently and stealthily. As long as the opponent didn't notice his poisoning, there would be no need to trigger their spiritual qi defenses. Even if these poisons couldn't kill the opponent, as long as they had some effect, it could give him a stable advantage in battle. For now, I can't return to Mystic Azure Realm. I might as well cultivate the necessary materials for refining poisons in the zombie farm myself. Xuan snapped his fingers, and the purifying corpse respectfully growled lightly, taking the spirit plant seeds from the storage bag and diligently cultivating them. Although this purifying corpse wasn't talented in spells, for some reason, it was quite intelligent. It quickly learned many things, including cultivation. Just by watching Xuan operate a few times, it perfectly replicates it. Xuan entrusted this task entirely to it. The feeling of not needing to personally handle everything was truly wonderful. Next, Xuan frequently shuttled between the soul-capturing evil nurturing array and the Haodai Hotel. Absorbing evil qi, refining the large blood pearls, and perusing ancient texts. Doing everything simultaneously and making steady progress. Xuan found that his merit might actually enhance his comprehension. Otherwise, it couldn't explain why he was mastering the art of poisons at an increasingly rapid pace. Half a month later, the intelligence from Black Blade was once again laid out before him. The main contents were mostly the same, detailing situations from various regions. Just the expansion of supernatural beings' territories. And conflicts erupting between different forces. However, what surprised Xuan somewhat was that the Science City, rising in the north of Han country, had already begun to encircle and annihilate the zombie Empress, seemingly gaining a significant advantage. But it was only a slight surprise. No matter how powerful the Science City was, it was still formidable only in the eyes of the humans of this planet. In his view, it was akin to a small sect formed by qi-refining cultivators. Even the small sects in the Kingdom of Yu with Foundation Establishment cultivators were far inferior. Xuan continued to read and soon came to the last item. Reading on this site? This novel is published elsewhere. Support the author by seeking out the original. 2 superhumans sent by the Science City found us and hoped to invite the immortal to join the Science City. I, on behalf of the immortal, declined their invitation. Wang Gangjian. Xuan chuckled lightly. If they truly understood his strength clearly, they would be actively seeking to affiliate rather than inviting him to join. Wang Gangjian did the right thing. Indeed, there was no need to waste time with such people. See the ovalfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. 5 days later, Tulong City. A diminutive and emaciated figure calmly navigated through the steel and concrete jungle. His body was covered in scars, some from flames, others from frostbite. There used to be a swarm of killer bees in Tulong City. Many survivors were forced to flee their homes, but now these killer bees are nowhere to be found. That immortal likely set up something in Tulong City, restraining those killer bees for his own use. The agile mind of the slender figure raced swiftly, emitting even wisps of white steam from his head. He was He Xingliang. Initially, he and Ji Xingyu had agreed to find a powerful brain enhancer to help them retrieve their lost memories. However, such enhancers were rare, and they struggled to find one. In the end, they settled on Xuan. But judging from Xuan's actions, He Xingliang deduced that he was no saint and wouldn't easily agree to their request. Therefore, they needed a sincere and substantial gift. Initially, their choice was the zombie matriarch. However, Xuan had already taken it before them. Later, they decided to head north to find other zombie matriarchs. Yet, this decision plunged them into endless nightmares. As soon as the two were spotted by members of the Science City, they faced relentless pursuit. Several months ago, they were even captured and frozen for research by the Science City simultaneously. Fortunately, He Xingliang seized an opportunity and escaped. He fled southward, barely managing to reach here. Initially pursued by 4 pursuers, he devised a plan that killed 2 of them. Now, only 2 level 4 superhumans remained, and he was running on fumes. Sure enough. He Xingliang stared ahead at the churning black mist, a flicker of fear in his eyes. Such terrifying black mist. If I go in, there's a 50% chance I'll die. But if I don't go in, it's 100% certain death. He Xingliang clenched his teeth. He's in there. What's that? At this moment, shouts came from behind. He Xingliang turned to see a heavily modified heavy-duty jeep plowing through debris along its path straight towards him. There were 2 people in the jeep. They had spotted He Xingliang and the thick black mist roiling ahead of him. He Xingliang glanced deeply at the 2, then without hesitation, charged into the black mist. Screech. The speeding jeep abruptly halted, leaving an unsightly trail. 2 superhumans jumped out of the vehicle. 1 man and 1 woman. The man on the left was burly, with knotted muscles. Both wore blue and white uniforms. On their chests was an emblem depicting a city illuminated by stars. It signified that both were superhumans of the Science City. Without the stars, they would just be ordinary members of the Science City. At this moment, both stared uncertainly at the area enveloped in black mist. The burly man spoke gravely, "This place is eerie. That kid rushed in and might very well die. Xiaomei, what do you think? Should we report to headquarters that the kid is dead?" The woman licked her lips. "No, the headquarters orders were clear. Alive we need to see the person, dead we need to see the body. How can we report without a body? I actually find this place rather pleasant, it feels quite comfortable to me." The burly man was startled, then exclaimed with delight, "You mean, there's negative energy in the black mist?" The woman nodded vigorously. "Such pure negative energy, I've never seen it before. I'll try it first. If I can absorb it, that means we can go in and capture that kid." With that, she approached the edge of the black mist and extended her hands. In her palms, 2 swirling vortexes moved slowly. Crackle. The black mist was slowly absorbed into her body. In an instant, the woman felt a sensation of floating on air. She felt her power expanding rapidly. Level 5? Level 6? Level 7? She didn't know. All she knew was that, at this moment, she felt transcendent, as if she had surpassed the universe. You, came the frightened shout of the burly man. What's wrong? The woman tried to speak but realized the sound that came out was no longer human. She looked down and was shocked to see her body had inflated into a sphere. And then, like a balloon filled to its limit with air, exploded. What it looks like for a human body to explode from the inside out is something few have ever seen. Even amidst the zombie outbreak, the revival of psionic powers, and various strange events on Blue Star, the spectacle of a human body detonating in such a spectacular fashion was a first for this burly man. Red blood, black viscera, white brain matter, and assorted limbs and fragments rained down from above. Plop. A piece of skin, still attached to some hair, fell in front of the burly man. He bent down, trembling, and picked it up. His heart was full of fear. Even though psionic powers were rapidly evolving and people were advancing to higher levels every day, a level 4 superhuman, whose physical condition was far superior to that of an ordinary person, had just been blown apart like that. The burly man had worked with the woman many times. From battlefields to forests, and then to bedrooms, bathrooms, and toilets, he knew the strength of her body like the back of his hand. He even knew what her talent was. That was precisely why he was even more terrified now. The negative energy contained within this black mist was so fearsome that even she could not control it. The burly man took a deep breath, ignoring the stench of blood in his nostrils, and immediately pulled out a satellite phone. Hello, headquarters? This is Old Wang. Yes, Xiaomei is dead. She died right in front of me, exploded into many pieces. She died from absorbing too much negative energy. There's a huge black. Before he could finish his sentence, he saw a figure burst out of the black mist. The figure was nearly 3 meters tall, burly, and strong, like a steel tower. Especially notable were his incredibly muscular and powerfully aesthetic thighs, legs the burly man had always dreamed of having. The burly man's pupils suddenly shrank. Because he saw the other man throw a punch. The fist moved fast. He didn't even have time to react. Boom. The sack-sized fist instantly shattered the air, bringing a foul-smelling gale, and struck the burly man's face. Crack. The human skull, typically the hardest part of the body, was smashed by that single punch. The satellite phone in his hand was also shattered into countless electronic components. Humph. Who lifted the headless body of the man with one hand and walked back into the array. After a moment, it arrived at the center of the array and stood respectfully beside Chu Xian. Feel free to eat if you want, no need to ask me, Chu Xian said casually. Ho ho. Who excitedly roared and pounced on the burly man's body, greedily devouring it. Love this story? Find the genuine version on the author's preferred platform and support their work. At this moment, a skinny young boy lay prostrate in front of Chu Xian, whose chewing did not faze him in the slightest. Chu Xian looked down at the boy from his elevated position. He had been practicing within the array just moments before. Suddenly, the young boy had barged in. He had observed the actions of the man and woman who followed. What surprised him was that the young boy had managed to resist the erosion of the evil and come to him. Using the array, this person had killed his pursuers, bringing unnecessary trouble upon himself. To Chu Xian, this was akin to stirring up trouble and exploiting him. Originally, he had planned to casually kill this person, but the words spoken by the other party had piqued his interest. Whether to kill or not was merely a thought in his mind. So, he decided to hear out the young boy before making a decision. Chu Xian said calmly, repeat what you just said. He Xingliang said earnestly, I know where Psionic originated. Continue, Chu Xian prompted. He Xingliang continued seriously, 10 years ago, in a deep mine shaft, the Science City discovered shattered ancient artifacts emitting powerful psionic energy. Those who first encountered these ancient artifacts, some turned into zombies, while others became superhumans. The psionic that swept across Han country originated from an underground base storing these ancient artifacts, spreading in all directions. Science City believes that these ancient artifacts are the origin of psionic. The reason Science City has a large number of superhumans is also thanks to these ancient artifacts. With time, given enough time, they might even create powerful superhumans comparable to immortals. After saying this, Xianxia looked straight at Chu Xian, his gaze intense. Immortal, I know where those ancient artifacts are hidden, and I can lead you to find them. I am a brain enhancer, and I suspect you may have soul-searching spells, so I have already locked my brain. If you attempt to soul-search directly, I will die immediately. Xianxia continued, I know you dislike being manipulated. I only wish to rescue my companion from there. If successful, I will take my own life. I just ask for one chance, immortal. Chu Xian looked at the young boy, a smile playing on his lips. Interesting. Before barging into the formation, this young boy had planned everything meticulously. He even anticipated that Chu Xian would start killing after finding the ancient artifacts. Dealing with smart people saved a lot of effort. I agree, Chu Xian said calmly. He was only interested in the ancient artifact emitting strong psionic energy. As for this young boy, even if he succeeded and then betrayed and tried to escape, Chu Xian could easily kill him. The only difference would be in the timing of his death. Thank you, immortal. Xianxia bowed deeply to Chu Xian. The location of the underground base is in the capital of Yuyuan province, Yanjing City. Currently, Science City has a 45% probability of taking this seriously. The personnel stationed at headquarters are at most 10 superhumans. The remaining superhumans are divided into 2 teams. One team is in the final stages of encircling the zombie Empress. They have a 63% probability of bringing the zombie Empress south to intercept. The other team is heading west to resist the man-eating vines. They have an 88% probability of abandoning their resistance against the vines and heading east to intercept. Both teams have more than 20 superhumans, with the strongest being level 6 superhumans. In addition, there are over 100 combat servants. Although selected from ordinary people, their combat skills are solid, all among the elite of ordinary people. Chu Xian nodded slightly. I understand. Let's go. Search *the Nelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Yes, Xianxia nodded. Chu Xian controlled the green shadow shuttle and immediately ascended into the sky. Xianxia, being just a mortal, couldn't withstand the high-speed airflow generated during flight. Therefore, Chu Xian enveloped him with a layer of spiritual qi to prevent him from being blown off. Standing on the green shadow shuttle, Xianxia looked down at the ground, deeply shocked. Such methods truly befitted an immortal. Coming to find an immortal was indeed the right choice. It was a pity that Ji Xingyu couldn't witness this awe-inspiring scene. Chapter 113, A True Man Can Bend and Stretch. Plus, turn off reset. In Yuyuan province, within a ruined city, a team of Science City superhumans was cleaning up the battlefield. Surrounding them were accompanying soldiers. They were well equipped and coordinated seamlessly. Like living tanks, wherever they went, all zombies were crushed into pieces. Standing at the highest point was a bald, muscular man lighting a cigarette. The loose-fitting combat uniform of Science City on him looked like a tight shirt. His robust muscles were outlined prominently. His name was Zhong Shua, a level 6 superhuman, and the captain of Science City's first team. He was also one of the 4 level 6 superhumans in Science City. However, he was well aware that they were merely servants of Science City. The real power lay with the city lord who resided in the deepest levels of Science City's headquarters. Their strength as level 6 superhumans was a gift from him. It was like a collar around a dog's neck. What could be given could also be taken away at any moment. Boss. All the minor zombies have been cleared, and there are no survivors in this city, a blonde man came over, chuckling. The tall woman beside him said indifferently, the 2 survivors you just killed weren't survivors? The blonde man laughed oddly. I heard them speaking ill of Science City, so killing them was justified. Xianxia calmly said, don't kill survivors indiscriminately next time. Survivors brought back to Science City are at least a labor force, and even if their physical condition is poor, they can be used for human experiments. The blonde man shrugged, got it. I'll make sure next time. Xianxia said calmly, the mission is complete. Let's take the zombie Empress and head home. Yes. All the superhumans responded in unison. In the center of the clearing, there was a huge metal box. The front of the box was transparent. Through the tempered glass, one could see a huge, bloated zombie inside. It was the zombie Empress, which had been rampaging through the northern part of Han country, expanding its territory without restraint. Now, it was restrained in this small box, both angry and fearful. Unaware of what fate was about to befall it. At that moment, Xianxia's satellite phone rang. He answered the call, hearing the orders from Science City headquarters. Xianxia's thick eyebrows gradually furrowed. The tall woman noticed Xianxia's change in expression and asked, Boss, what's up? Is there a new mission? Xianxia nodded, Old Wang and Xiaomei are dead. Headquarters believes He Xingliang might have gotten help from a cultivator. We need to change our plans and head south immediately to join the second team and intercept the cultivator. This tale has been unlawfully lifted without the author's consent. Report any appearances on Amazon. The blonde man perked up, a cultivator? I've been wanting to meet one. He's just a powerful superhuman who calls himself an immortal. What a poser. The tall woman, smoking a slim cigarette, chuckled lightly, I'd love to see what a cultivator looks like on the dissection table. It must be interesting. But are we really joining forces with the second team to hunt him down? Did headquarters really get that order right? Isn't this a bit of an overreaction? Isn't the second team supposed to be heading west to stop those invasive man-eating vines? Xianxia replied calmly, we don't question headquarters' orders, we just execute them. All units, move out. We're heading south. Yes. On the long highway. The landscape was barren, with scant vegetation. The nutrients in the soil seemed to have been completely depleted. A convoy was heading west. This convoy consisted of 25 jeeps and 5 vans, all of which had been modified. The panels and glass were reinforced, and the fronts of the vehicles were fitted with spikes made from scrap materials, capable of plowing through any zombies foolish enough to charge at them. In the lead vehicle. In the driver's seat was a skinny man. In the passenger seat sat a corpulent woman who nearly filled 2 seats, squeezing the skinny man almost against the car window. The corpulent woman was Xianxia, and the skinny man was Li Wang. The two were the captain and vice-captain of the second team and were known within Science City as a model couple, not because they never argued or fought, but because their teamwork was flawlessly coordinated. There's green up ahead, Li Wang said impatiently. Xianxia, however, was just bent over painting her nails. Li Wang cursed under his breath, you moth. Xianxia slapped Li Wang hard across the face, leaving a bright red handprint. Say it again? Li Wang covered his face, honey, you misunderstood. I actually meant your mother makes great pork cutlet rice. Let's go eat together next time? Xianxia burst into laughter, sure. I love pork cutlet rice the most. Only then did she glance ahead. Immediately, she noticed a stubbornly growing tendril of tender green amidst the gravel and stones by the roadside. This touch of green in the barren land was surprisingly refreshing. See the novel, Azure.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. However, the superhumans of the second team knew exactly what it was, a man-eating vine. Of course, this was just a stray vine that had spread here by chance. Xianxia casually pointed, and the air condensed into invisible bullets that burst forth. Pew pew pew. In an instant, the man-eating vine was riddled with countless invisible air bullets, collapsing to the ground. Green juice flowed everywhere, even staining the barren land green. Just then, the phone in the car rang suddenly. The ringing was shrill, like a banshee scream, sharp enough to compel an answer. Frantically and anxiously, Xianxia searched for it. Finally, she found the satellite phone tucked under her own buttocks. She hurriedly answered, listening to headquarters instructions. After a moment, her expression darkened. "Turn around immediately and rendezvous with the first team." Li Wang was taken aback, annoyed. "Turn around? Why? Are the idiots at headquarters out of their minds? We've come this far." Slap. Another fiery red handprint appeared on his right cheek. A real man can be flexible when needed. With Li Wang's command, the entire convoy of the second team turned around to join forces with the first team. Xiangshan City, Yuyuan Province. Following the orders from Science City headquarters, the first team was stationed here. Captain Zhong Shua surveyed his team members and spoke in a deep voice, "Everyone, listen to my command. Elemental superhumans, immediately fortify defensive positions based on the terrain. Enhancement superhumans, prepare long-range consumable ammunition, at least 3,000 rounds per person. Combat servants, immediately inspect all types of light and heavy weapons for readiness. There must be no oversight." Both the tall woman and the blonde man were quite surprised. Was all this pomp really necessary to deal with a so-called cultivator? Those who knew thought they were dealing with one person. Those who didn't might have thought they were facing an entire army. Chapter 114, What kind of monster is this? Plus, turn off reset. The first team had high combat proficiency. At Zhong Shua's command, the superhumans and combat servants swiftly completed their combat preparations. Now, they awaited the arrival of the enemy. Zhong Shua stood on an elevated position, looking toward the south while smoking a cigarette. The blonde man and the tall woman flanked him on either side, both a bit perplexed. The tall woman whispered, "Boss, is headquarters being too paranoid? Isn't that cultivator just another superhuman? Do we really need to have our brothers this battle ready? To be honest, our setup here could probably roll over the entire Han country. There aren't many forces that can withstand an assault by so many superhumans and combat servants." The blonde man also grumbled, "We've been out catching the zombie Empress for nearly a month now. I want to go back and rest. I miss the beauties back in Science City." Zhong Shua responded calmly, "I don't understand it either, but this order came directly from the city lord, not from the strategic team at headquarters." Both the blonde man and the tall woman stiffened and then bowed their heads. The city lord. That was just a code name. The real name of the city lord was unknown to anyone. He preferred to be called the city lord rather than chairman, president, or doctor. Since it was an order from the city lord, they were willing to comply, because the city lord had never been wrong. See the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Zhong Shua continued calmly, "I know you all want to rest. I want to rest too. The city lord said that after this mission, we could take a month off." Both the tall woman and the blonde man brightened up at this. Finally, a vacation. Cheers. After a moment's disappearance, a superhuman who had been vigilantly scanning the surroundings suddenly pointed to the sky and shouted, "There's a green light in the sky." Zhong Shua's eyes sharpened. "That's the cultivator. Fire." The satellite phone call from headquarters had made it clear, the high-speed green light in the sky was the cultivator. Bang bang bang. Gun barrels spewed flames, and bullets exceeding 700 meters per second sliced through the air, aimed directly at the green light in the sky. However, all these bullets were stopped by an invisible shield, completely unable to reach the swiftly flying green light. "Step aside, let me handle this." A battle servant sneered, promptly retrieving a shoulder-fired rocket launcher. A thunderous explosion resounded. The missile shot forth. The battle servant, brimming with confidence, believed his missile would undoubtedly strike the enemy. Yet, as the missile neared the Azure light, merely 200 to 300 meters away, it abruptly detonated midair without any warning. Shards of metal scattered in all directions, cascading down with a rustling sound. Stolen content warning, this tale belongs on Royal Road. Report any occurrences elsewhere. Xianxia felt his scalp tighten. What method was that just now? He hadn't even caught a clear glimpse. On the green shadow shuttle, Chu Xian gazed coldly at this contingent of superhumans. He held no fear of bullets fired from rifles. The green shadow shuttle, being a top-grade Foundation establishment magic tool, could easily withstand such low-level thermal weapons. But the rocket launcher's missile, its power evidently surpassed that of rifle bullets. To be cautious, Chu Xian released a wisp of spiritual qi, causing the missile to explode mid-air. In that instant, he realized the might of such thermal weapons. They indeed had the potential to damage a magic tool. If subjected to a barrage of missiles, even if he wouldn't perish, several defensive magic tools would shatter. Chu Xian summoned the corpse-nurturing tower, releasing 3 streaks of black light. He casually commanded, "Kill them all." Roar! 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 The roars of Long, Hu, and Bao reverberated thunderously. Like pitch-black projectiles, they descended from the heavens, crashing directly into the fortifications of the first squad of superhumans. Several elemental superhumans and battle servants didn't even have time to react before being crushed into a pulp by the 3 corpses. Their supposedly formidable and sturdy fortifications were obliterated in an instant, reduced to fragments flying everywhere. Dust and smoke completely enveloped the area. Agonized screams echoed intermittently through the haze. It was as if 3 assassins, masters of slaughter, were performing a deadly dance. Fire into the smoke. Xianxia made the decision on the spot and yelled out the command. The blonde man and the tall woman, their hearts tightening, immediately joined in shouting the order to fire. Even if there were their own people in the smoke, they had to shoot. Pow! 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 Rifles and machine guns continuously spat out flames. 2 shoulder-fired rocket launchers also launched their missiles abruptly. Boom boom boom. Under such intense firepower, a normal human body would have been torn to shreds. Moments later, the barrels of the combat servants' guns glowed red-hot, forcing them to pause firing. The situation fell into an eerie silence. Then, from within the dust, a chilling chewing sound emerged. Crunch, crunch. It sounded like flesh being ripped from the bone. Or like bones being crunched and their marrow sucked out. Not dead. Xianxia, the blonde man, and the tall woman all tensed, their eyes snapping to that area. Xianxia was particularly shocked. He had already learned from headquarters about the cultivator's abilities. One was controlling zombies. The other was manipulating fire. But zombies could not possibly jump down from nearly 100 meters high and remain unharmed. Nor could they withstand such a concentrated barrage of firepower. What kind of monster is this? Xianxia muttered to himself. Boom! 3 towering, dark figures burst out of the smoke like 3 unstoppable bulls charging wildly. The combat servants widened their eyes in horror. They didn't even have a chance to react before they were smashed into pulp. Compared to them, the superhumans had slightly stronger bodies. They weren't smashed into pulp, but rather into 7 or 8 pieces of limbs and fragments. In the blink of an eye, another 5 or 6 superhumans were killed. The combat servants were completely wiped out. Xianxia fixed his gaze. The leading, exceptionally robust zombie bore only a few scorch marks. Some rifle bullets, twisted and deformed, were lodged within its muscles and bones. This terrifying creature's flesh was harder than steel. Xianxia watched as the hulking zombie lunged at the blonde man. From the zombie's grim and ferocious mouth emerged a harsh and guttural syllable, "Die." The blonde man, an enhanced superhuman, had reinforced his legs. Seeing the dire situation, he immediately activated his psionic power, further strengthening his legs. In an instant, they swelled several times larger. He kicked the ground forcefully, preparing to dart away. At this critical moment, a piercing screech suddenly swept across the entire area. Everyone who heard it felt as if their brains had been struck by a massive hammer, leaving them momentarily blank. Even Xianxia, a level 6 superhuman, felt dizzy and almost lost his balance. The screech also affected the blonde man. Just as he was about to dash away, his movement abruptly halted. In those few fleeting seconds, the hulking zombie's fist, as large as a sandbag, smashed his skull. Blood and brain matter, mixed with shattered bone fragments, spurted out, flying far away. A large portion of his shattered brain was also flung out, only to be swiftly devoured by an agile zombie before it even hit the ground. A woman's scream rang out from the right. Xianxia looked intently. His most capable subordinate, the tall woman, had her head crushed by the screeching zombie. Dead, all dead. Xianxia murmured. Chapter 115, Let me see what you've got plus, turn off reset. Xianxia was somewhat distracted. As a level 6 superhuman, he had never been in such a dire and life-threatening situation before, but level 6 superhumans were supposed to be at the pinnacle among superhumans. They were the ones standing atop the pyramid. Why, then, were there such terrifying zombies? Jumping down from over 100 meters high. Remaining unscathed under a dense barrage of firepower. Blasting the head of a level 5 superhuman with a single punch. Such terrifying zombies, a total of 3 of them. Even more frightening was that mysterious cultivator remained suspended in midair without joining the battle. If the cultivator could control such terrifying zombie war machines, how powerful must they be themselves? Thinking of this, Xianxia's heart was overshadowed by a vast shadow. His usual aggressive and dominant aura, which usually knew no bounds, had disappeared without a trace. Now he understood. What level 6 superhuman? In the eyes of that cultivator, he was nothing more than an ant, a speck of dust. Roar! The burly zombie charged forward. Just a plain, unadorned, and unpretentious fist. Xianxia was somewhat dazed. But his experienced body instinctively reacted. His arms suddenly blocked in front of him. Hardened bones rapidly grew out, forming thick bone armor. His ability was to control his own bones. He could grow bone claws like Wolverine, or form bone shields and armor to protect himself. That's why he consumed large amounts of food every day, converting it into nutrients to grow his bones. Normal people had only 12 pairs of ribs. But he had a whopping 20 pairs. In addition, extra bones had grown in the additional space of his chest and abdomen. Normally, they were hardly used. But in combat, these bones became lethal weapons. Xianxia had tested it before. By fully utilizing his stored bones, he could withstand the continuous bombardment of 3 single soldier rocket launcher rounds. This was his trump card. Even though his will was shaken due to the enormous disparity in strength, he still wanted to test his trump card against the opponent. Come on, let me see what you've got. Xianxia took a deep breath and roared. However, before he could finish his sentence, the thick bone armor was shattered by the fist the size of a sandbag. Along with it, his head was pulverized. Bone fragments and shards flew everywhere, comparable to shrapnel from a grenade, deeply embedding into the ground and surrounding buildings. Hu lifted Xianxia's headless body with one hand, emitting a deafening zombie roar. This sound was filled with the dominance of a superior over inferiors. Every surviving superhuman, regardless of what they were doing, clutched their heads and fell to the ground in terror. The author's content has been appropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. Those who had lost their will to fight were quickly dispatched, either by long crushing their skulls or bow piercing their hearts. In the blink of an eye, the battlefield was devoid of life, leaving only rubble and scattered limbs and fragments, as if narrating the tale of a one-sided slaughter that had occurred here. Chu Xian casually summoned back Long, who bound the corpses to the corpse tower. He did not pause for even a moment and continued northward. The bodies of these superhumans and combat servants contained energy far inferior to that of cultivators. Furthermore, the psionic cores within the superhumans had already been consumed by Long, Hu, and Bao, so there was no need to collect them. The most shocked at this moment was He Xingliang, standing on the green shadow shuttle. From a high vantage point and as a bystander, he had a clear view of the entire battle. Ordinary superhumans and combat servants crumbled like fragile paper at the slightest touch. 2 level 5 superhumans were as weak as tofu. Even the captain of the first team, a level 6 superhuman known for his formidable defense, was as vulnerable as a watermelon, bursting apart with a single punch. Such a well-equipped team was easily torn to shreds by the 3 zombies under the Immortal's command. It was terrifying. After a brief shock, joy rose on Xianxia's face. That's right. He had made the right choice. He should indeed enlist this immortal. Only he had the power to annihilate Science City. Over an hour had passed. Xuan piloted the Green Shadow Shuttle, already hovering above the headquarters of the Science City located in Yanjing City of the Yuyuan province. The Green Shadow Shuttle, a top-tier flying magic tool, could traverse 1,000 li in a single hour, consuming merely a small spiritual stone for the distance. The direct distance between East Lake City and Yanjing City on the map was roughly 1,000 kilometers. Flying high above, there were no concerns of traffic jams or speed limits, allowing for a straight and uninterrupted course. Only occasionally, some reckless carnivorous birds attempted to taste Xuan's metal. As the saying goes, to not return a favor is discourteous. Xuan, ever so graciously, let Bao taste them instead. Indeed, the journey was swift. The Science City headquarters managed only the most basic response. Even the dispatched teams had not had time to retreat before Xuan descended like the Grim Reaper. He surveyed the area below. A towering edifice stood there, marked by a massive logo. The words Science City boldly proclaimed its identity. This is the place, this is it, Xianxia murmured, his eyes moistening at the sight of the familiar building. Originally, Science City had acquired an ancient vessel and planned to conduct human experiments using live subjects. Being an orphan with a severe mental disorder, he naturally became the prime target for Science City. Later, thanks to the help of Xingyu, he managed to escape from the underground research facility of this very building. Facing Xuan, Xianxia bowed respectfully. Immortal, the ancient vessel is located in the underground base beneath this building. Very well, you have 1 hour, Xuan stated calmly. In 1 hour, no one here will be left alive. With a casual wave of his hand, a surge of spiritual qi lifted Xianxia to the ground. Exterminate them. Xuan then unleashed the tower. At his command, Long, Hu, and Bao corpses, like beasts freed from their cages, charged into the building. You may join in the fun as well, Xuan said as he brought out the blood beehive. The queen bee had been diligently hatching warrior bees, and the swarm had grown considerably in size. Countless warrior and worker bees streamed into the building through doors and windows. See the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Blood, death, slaughter, and chaos spread like a plague throughout the entire Science City building. Thank you, Xianxia deeply bowed to Xuan, seizing the chaotic moment to rush in as well. Xuan casually took out a set of killing array discs and flags. This formation, known as the Earth Evil Demon Sealing Array, was a high-grade killing formation from the Foundation establishment stage. Comprising 36 flags and a single array disc, Xuan had acquired them after slaying Duan Faping and taking them from his storage bag. Despite its name suggesting it sealed demons, in reality, it could kill anything contained within its bounds. Similar formations numbered over a dozen in his collection. With a flick of his wrist, his spiritual sense guided the 36 flags into position around the Science City building. They are embedded into the concrete like nails. Thus, the prototype of the Earth Evil Demon Sealing Array was established. Once he inserted the spiritual stones into the array disc, every living being within the range of the formation would die in agony. Deep within the underground base of the Science City building, the city's leader, the city lord, sat intently watching a screen that displayed the Science City building as a veritable hell on earth. His right hand caressed a massive red button, his expression growing feverishly manic. Come forth, come forth. All high-level zombies and supernatural creatures, come to me, he roared, slamming the button down. An ultrasonic wave, inaudible to normal humans, immediately radiated out from the Science City building, rippling towards distant realms. All zombies and supernatural beings that heard this call instinctively converged towards its source. To them, the sound seemed to announce, dinner is served. The city lord cackled maniacally. Kill, kill, he hissed. Blood and bones will construct its body. Wails and screams will nourish it. It will be the grandest creation of Science City. Oh God, do you see? He shouted upwards. I am about to create a level 8. His laughter echoed until it was abruptly cut off. Bang! The steel door, 20 centimeters thick, was punched through. Another hole followed immediately after. Crack! In the next moment, the steel door was forcibly torn open by a pair of powerful arms. The city lord's laughter stopped abruptly as he incredulously turned towards the entrance. A tall figure, flanked by 3 robust forms, sauntered in as if strolling in a serene garden. Weren't you on the surface? He stammered. How did you appear here so suddenly? The city lord's eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at Xuan, sneaking a few glances at Wuxia the Nelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The 20-centimeter thick iron door had been penetrated with a single punch, as though it were no more substantial than a paper window. Xuan surveyed the man. He had assumed the city lord, who even a level 6 superhuman would not dare to challenge, was at least a level 7 or 8 superhuman. It turned out he was merely a level 6. Are you the city lord? Xuan asked nonchalantly. The city lord took a deep breath and responded solemnly, Yes, I am the city lord. Cultivator, may I address you as such? He ventured. Xuan replied indifferently, A dead man may call me whatever he wishes. The city lord burst into a wild, somewhat demented laugh. I will die, and so will you, he exclaimed. We shall all become nourishment for the level 8 supernatural being. Love what you're reading. Discover and support the author on the platform they originally published on. I had planned to kill all the members of the Science City building and transform them into nourishment for the level 8 zombies once my plan succeeded, he continued. You have actually aided me. Xuan tilted his head, observing him with a hint of pity. He calmly suggested, Take another look at the screen. See how much flesh remains on the ground. Startled, the city lord turned his gaze back to the screen. To his shock, he saw swarms of blood-red bees invading the Science City building. Wherever they passed, all the corpses' flesh vanished, leaving behind only stark white skeletons. Even the flesh that had splattered on the floors, walls, and ceilings during the slaughter was meticulously cleaned, as if licked clean like a yogurt lid. This. The city lord's body swayed, nearly toppling over from the incredulity of it all. The blood bees, functioning like automated cleaning robots, had scrubbed every trace of flesh so thoroughly it defied logic. Taking a deep breath, the city lord pleaded earnestly, Spare my life, I know where the ancient vessel is. Snap. His head was crushed effortlessly by the ghastly claw of a ghost. The headless body thumped heavily onto the ground. Xuan looked at the corpse and pronounced flatly, I know where it is, no need for you to tell me. There was a profoundly strong psionic point within the underground base. It was obvious, even without much thought, that the ancient vessel was located there. Xuan strolled leisurely towards it, heading deeper into the underground base. Access was guarded by a password and a secret door, known only to the city lord. Around the door, 2 machine guns were set up, ready to unleash a barrage of bullets should anyone enter the incorrect password. However, they posed no threat to Xuan. It's all yours, Xuan said casually. With a roar, Hu charged forward, braving the streams of bullets from the Gatling guns, twisting their barrels into twisted metal. The sturdy password-protected door was also torn apart by his single hand. Only then did Xuan stride in. Soon, he reached the deepest layer of the underground base. There, he beheld the thing, a massive life form assembled from countless limbs. It was hard to describe in human language exactly what it was. If one had to label it, a nightmare amalgam? Xuan instantly discerned, at the core of the corpulent entity, a damaged device. This device continuously emitted intense psionic energy. It was the presence of these richly vibrant psionics that stitched the myriad severed limbs together, preventing them from falling apart. At that moment, perhaps sensing the presence of living beings, the 16 eyes on the corpulent entity simultaneously snapped open. Die. The same word erupted from its 22 mouths. 6 massive hands slammed down violently as if Xuan were but a fly that could be swatted dead. Whoosh! A streak of blood suddenly flashed. In an instant, it severed the 6 enormous hands. Blood gushed forth in an instant. Xuan felt a pang of heartache. Such a waste of blood. In the next moment, he saw the damaged device suddenly emit psionic fluctuations. The wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the 6 hands had regrown. Xuan's eyes lit up. An endless supply of flesh and blood? Die. The corpulent entity, momentarily stunned, failed to comprehend how its forceful palms had not crushed the tiny fly. It growled lowly, swinging its arms down once more. This time, Xuan took action himself. The evil soul chain shot out, blasting through the arms to reach the damaged device. Then, wrapping around it, he yanked fiercely. A pitiful wail immediately emanated from the corpulent entity. It was as if its root were being ruthlessly pulled outward by Xuan. Quite tight. Huikong, use some strength. Xuan instructed. Roar. Huikong suddenly appeared and the force of the evil soul chain burst forth. With a snap, the damaged device was directly pulled out. In that instant, the corpulent entity seemed as if its backbone had been extracted, utterly collapsing. The so-called 8th-tier supernatural creature, as described by the city lord, was no match for even a mid-stage demonic beast in Xuan's presence. In a flick of his fingers, it was effortlessly slain. Is this the origin of the Psionics? Xuan examined the damaged device, deep in thought. This damaged artifact, jet black and icy cold, had sharp and distinct edges. If it were intact, it would have been a perfect cubic shape. The surface of the artifact was densely covered with mysterious patterns. Looking at it for too long would make one feel dizzy and overwhelmed. Xuan could easily sense that this object was still continuously releasing powerful primordial psionic energy. After these primordial psionics merged with the air, they gradually diluted into ordinary psionics. Primordial psionics subtly transformed everything they touched. When Xuan controlled it with his spiritual sense and floated it in front of him, the primordial psionics even seemed to want to transform him. However, once primordial psionics and spiritual chi encountered each other, they immediately regarded each other as mortal enemies. In the blink of an eye, primordial psionics and spiritual chi formed into 2 great dragons, fiercely clashing and killing each other. They even treated Xuan's body as the battlefield. Xuan couldn't help but frown, but he still patiently watched. Soon, these 2 vastly different energies determined the winner. Spiritual chi still surpassed primordial psionics by a large margin. The latter had no choice but to withdraw from Xuan's body. It seems that even primordial psionics are weaker than spiritual chi. However, judging from the energy it contains, it's not far behind. Xuan recalled the corpulent entity he had just faced. Compared to spiritual chi, primordial psionics might not match in terms of strength, power, or endurance. But in terms of vitality alone, it was exceptionally robust. It might even surpass spiritual chi in certain aspects. The energy imbued with powerful vitality, it's so incredibly useful. Xuan stroked his chin, revealing a satisfied smile. Corpse puppets, goo insects, spirit plants. Under his command, they all eagerly awaited their daily sustenance. Moreover, there are rumors about a group of demonic cultivators who worship ancient body-refining techniques. They don't cultivate chi, build foundations, or form pills, they specialize in tempering their physical bodies. They require massive amounts of meat daily. This meat must contain immense vitality to support their daily consumption for body refinement. Perhaps these primordial psionics could assist me in body refinement as well. Xuan smiled faintly. Cultivators have always been divided into 2 types, those who refine chi and those who refine their bodies. The latter are also known as body cultivators. However, body cultivators require vast amounts of demonic beast flesh and rare natural treasures. It is no longer the ancient golden age where spiritual herbs were ubiquitous. There are not enough resources to sustain a body cultivator. The resources to sustain one body cultivator could perhaps sustain 7 or 8 chi cultivators. As for slaying demonic beasts to harvest their flesh, that is even more out of the question. Combat brings the risk of injury. Injuries require the consumption of medicinal pills for healing. If one does not use medicinal pills, natural healing requires even more time. Once the cost of combat exceeds the gains, it becomes a loss not worth the effort. Reading on Amazon or a pirate site? This novel is from Royal Road. Support the author by reading it there. Moreover, the pain involved in body refining far exceeds that of chi refining. Over time, body cultivators gradually faded from the annals of history. The mainstream became those who refined chi. Xuan only learned of the existence of body cultivators from casual conversations among cultivators. Initially, he was just listening for the sake of it. Now, it seems he really has the capability to make it a reality. However, I lack a body cultivation technique, so I'll set this aside for now and revisit it if the opportunity arises. Xuan noted this in his mind. Elsewhere, the back door of the Science City building. A young boy helped his elder sister to walk out quickly. At this time, Xianxia had even more injuries. Being a brain enhancer, he was not very adept at combat. Yet, he had stormed the underground base, found Xianxia among hundreds of cryogenic chambers, and managed to escape with her from the Science City building an hour ago. Xianxia had just recovered from her cryogenic province. Her face was still a bit stiff and her speech was somewhat halting. She managed a weak smile. Little Liang, thank you, you. Xianxia smiled. The two hobbled along, passing by a flagpole. This is. Xianxia looked puzzled. Xianxia smiled and said, let's sit here and rest a while. Xianxia nodded, okay. Xianxia pulled out a bottle of baijiu and handed it over. Xianxia took a big swig of the liquor, and her body gradually warmed up. She laughed, you really get me. Xianxia pointed at the Science City building and said calmly, Sister you are a senior researcher at Science City, why didn't you stay there and instead chose to rescue me? Xianxia took another large gulp, then sighed deeply, because I, too, came into contact with Primordial Psionic and awakened my talents. The City Lord used me as one of his subjects for human experimentation. To survive, I had to protect myself. At that time, you were another individual who had awakened talents. Only by taking you with me could I have hoped to escape alive. Our previous memories. Xianxia spoke calmly, I've already figured out that the memories from the psychiatric hospital were fabricated. Xianxia nodded and continued drinking. Sister you, if I were to die, you'd have to keep living well on your own. Xianxia paused, then suddenly said. Xianxia was startled, what? Are you joking? With your calculating skills, you should be able to predict your own death, right? We've both escaped, so I don't think it's going to be today. Besides, I still need you to help me find booze. Xianxia chuckled and recounted the events that had happened. Finally, he said, I made a deal with the immortal, I led him to Science City, and he gave me an hour to rescue you from the underground base. Now, you've made it out alive, and I've repaid the favor you did me by saving me back then, it's time for me to end my life. Xianxia's hand, holding the liquor bottle, began to tremble. You. Xianxia smiled. Though he was physically just a young boy, his smile carried an immense weight of world weariness. If I don't end my life, the immortal will kill both of us, and I know he truly has the means to do it. Sister you, I'm just a passerby in your life. Please live well. Tears streamed down Xianxia's eyes. Xianxia whispered, Sister you, may I lie on your lap? Of course, Xianxia sniffled and nodded. The young boy lay on the soft lap of his elder sister, his breathing gradually becoming lighter, and he fell asleep. A cold tear fell onto his cheek. He never woke up again. Above on the green shadow shuttle, Xuan saw everything unfold. He could tell at a glance that Xianxia had ingested poison and no longer had any signs of life. Xianxia had used him to block the pursuers and also leveraged his power to eliminate the nemesis, Science City. He had effectively used him twice. A deal is a deal. This man had to die, there was no question about it. It was just a pity to lose such a clever individual. No matter how intelligent, it is ultimately hard to contend with supreme power. A tide of zombies? Xianxia the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xuan looked toward the horizon, suddenly noticing a black line appearing. And it wasn't coming from one direction. It was converging from all around. Those flying in the sky and those running on the ground, all were coming. If those swimming in the water could come ashore, they probably would have joined in the excitement. Xuan suddenly remembered. When he had entered the lowest level of the underground base, an odd sonic wave had swept past. To ordinary people, it was an inaudible ultrasonic wave, but for Xuan, a cultivator in the late Foundation establishment stage, it was within the range of perceivable sounds. It was just a sound, so he hadn't paid much attention to it. But now he understood. That sound was the City Lord's final killer move. It could attract all the zombies and supernatural creatures in the vicinity. There's a saying, ants can kill an elephant. In the City Lord's estimation, even if Xuan was an incredibly powerful superhuman, if there were enough zombies and supernatural creatures, they could overwhelm him to death. Xuan displayed a bizarre smile. How many large blood pearls could this sprawling tide of corpses produce? The myriad souls banner would probably be filled to the brim, right? Furthermore, the City Lord had unintentionally given him a great gift. That was the ultrasonic wave attracting the zombies. From now on, he no longer needed to go searching for zombies. Just spread the sound, and a large number of zombies would come knocking at his door. This was simply fantastic. Very good, coming to Science City was indeed the right decision. Xuan laughed so hard he could hardly contain himself. Roar, roar, roar. The three corpses of Long, Hu, and Bao had completed their mission and returned to Xuan's side. A large number of soldier bees and worker bees had also returned to the hive, waiting for Xuan's next command. Xuan stood on high ground, overlooking the corpse tide rushing from afar. He immediately pressed a spirit stone into the array plate. The Earth Evil Demon sealing array rippled and was now activated. Xuan smiled. Now, all we need to do is wait. Wait for them to enter the array. Leading the charge was an advanced zombie standing over 3 meters tall. It had 4 arms, with muscles bulging all over its body. Especially those legs, they were bizarrely jointed backward. With a leap, its reverse-jointed legs acted like springs, propelling it high into the air. In an instant, it had jumped more than 10 meters high. From its appearance and capabilities, this was at least a level 5 zombie. At that moment, the array suddenly concentrated countless potent, mighty flying swords and shot them out. In an instant, this level 5 zombie was sliced into countless pieces of flesh, falling to the ground. The zombies behind it had no idea what had happened up front. They still rushed forward in a frenzy. Time for dinner! Time for dinner! Those who lagged behind would miss out on their meal. These reverse-jointed zombies entering the Earth Evil Demon sealing array liked to leap high into the air. Suspended with nowhere to leverage in mid-air, they naturally became live targets for the flying swords. Just like their leader, they all ended up as piles of minced meat on the ground. Then, more and more zombies and supernatural creatures rushed in. The flying swords hummed non-stop. Where they passed, only limbs and shattered bodies fell in droves. You could be reading stolen content. Head to the original site for the genuine story. See the novel_fire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xuan took out the Myriad Souls banner. With a gesture of his hand, a vast number of souls began to stream continuously towards the Myriad Souls banner. Xuan mused, the rate at which these souls are replenishing is absurdly fast. He estimated that once this horde of zombies was entirely vanquished, the souls within the Myriad Souls banner might overflow. This banner was merely a high-quality magic tool, not one of those legendary magical treasures possessing a spirit, otherwise, it would certainly have screamed in panic. Too many. Stop coming in. It's going to overflow. The carnage lasted for over 3 hours. Aside from a few intelligent high-level zombies and supernatural creatures that sensed danger and fled, the rest fell into the array. Now, the grounds around the Science City building were finely layered with several strata of flesh and blood. All this flesh and blood should be enough to produce plenty of blood honey, he mused. The queen bee's level might catch up immediately, and perhaps even unlock more types of blood bees. Xuan's thoughts stirred. He commanded the queen bee to deploy a large number of worker bees. Blood honey was far superior to blood pearls. His own blood transmutation technique was somewhat crude. In the future, he planned to let the blood bees handle such delicate tasks. Was it laziness? No. It was more about allowing the blood bees to gain experience. That way, they could become key pillars under his command in the future. The worker bees were highly efficient. In no time at all, they had cleaned up all the minced flesh that had fallen to the ground. Of course, the corpulent entity from the deepest part of the underground base was not overlooked. In time, all this flesh would be transformed into blood honey. Seizing the opportunity, Xuan swept up all the research materials from Science City, leaving nothing behind. He then set the last fire, burning down the towering building. At that moment, Xuan suddenly saw a burst of rainbow-colored radiance rising in the sky. Following this were divine beasts like dragons, phoenixes, and cheilants, each appearing one by one. Then, various phenomena such as the sun and moon soaring through the sky unfolded. Xuan's eyes lit up. Here it comes. It's coming with signs and wonders. Merit. Here is merit again. Suddenly, behind Xuan's head, a 3-tiered merit golden wheel emerged. The merit golden wheel, rotating silently like a lotus platform, was like a Buddha, a sage. The magnificent golden light was so intense it was blinding. Like a miniature sun. The merit golden wheel could enhance the power of merit-based spells. Accumulating layers on the merit golden wheel is extremely challenging, and it becomes increasingly difficult with each additional layer. For context, even Yuanhong, the current abbot of the Golden Dragon Temple, only possessed 2 layers of the merit golden wheel. Previously, Xuan had only 1 layer. But today, after eradicating a horde of tens of thousands of zombies, he impressively gained 3 layers. Xuan muttered, "These hollow phenomena are alright, but can we discuss adding more cleansing soul golden rain?" He looked up at the sky and clicked his tongue. Whoosh! Torrential rain poured down. Golden rain covered Xuan from head to toe. Those who knew thought it was raining. Those who didn't might have thought it was hail. Truly magnificent. Xuan gave a thumbs up, immediately absorbing this precious cleansing soul golden rain. His spiritual soul once again strengthened significantly. The total amount of cleansing soul golden rain this time far exceeded the last. Until the raindrops completely disappeared, Xuan suddenly realized that his spiritual soul had actually doubled in strength. Forget about being a Foundation Establishment 7th layer cultivator, even the 9th layer cultivator couldn't compare to him. Of course, such spiritual soul strength still couldn't compare to a Golden Core cultivator. The transition from Foundation Establishment to Golden Core was a complete leap in life level. All aspects would skyrocket. In addition, he felt that his innate comprehension had also increased. His thoughts were clearer. His speed in pondering any problem had become faster. My spiritual soul has doubled, which means I can control more magic tools simultaneously and raise their number again. Xuan was overjoyed. The 3 corpse puppets, Long, Hu, and Bao, had now become corpse generals, their levels almost matching his. Whose level was particularly high, even surpassing Xuan by 1 level, reaching the 8th level corpse general. The higher the level, the more spiritual soul he needed to control them. Not to mention, Xuan still needed to focus on controlling magic tools. With his spiritual soul now doubled, his pressure had been significantly reduced. However, he had no intention of increasing the number of corpse generals further. 3 corpse generals were sufficient. At most, he would refine more corpse puppets like the purifying corpse to manage the farm or guard various arrays. Even the land here has been influenced by the cleansing soul golden rain. Xuan rubbed his chin thoughtfully. He glanced at the soil faintly shimmering with golden light. After a moment of consideration, he casually took out a flying sword magic tool and began digging right then and there. The soil teemed with bacteria, microorganisms, and small creatures like earthworms and insects. It was possible that some of these life forms, influenced by the cleansing soul rain, might gain intelligence. Should any of these creatures become sentient and wreak havoc, such evil deeds would likely bring retribution upon Xuan. He had no desire for the hard-earned merits he had accumulated to be squandered in an instant. Thus, he decided to dig out the matter directly, ensuring everything remained within his control. This way, there would be no further complications. After completing this task, Xuan retrieved the 3 corpses and blood bees, stepped onto the green shadow shuttle, and departed. Xinyu gazed at the distant azure light in the sky, her eyes filled with awe. She had witnessed everything firsthand. The terrifying tide of zombies had surged from all directions, yet it was as if they had charged into a perpetually grinding meat grinder. The powerful high-level zombies and supernatural creatures seemed no different from chickens, ducks, cattle, and sheep in the eyes of that immortal. She had also witnessed various miraculous phenomena, the 7-colored auspicious clouds, mythical beasts appearing, the golden wheel of merit, and the golden rain. All these seemed to honor that immortal as if even the world itself acknowledged his achievements. Xinyu looked down at Han Liuyun, gradually growing cold in her arms, and spoke calmly, "Little Liang, rest assured, I won't do anything foolish. I will live well. The Science City has fallen, but I know there are people above the city lord. I will find them." She gazed at the blazing building, the flames reflecting in her eyes. "I will burn the filth of this world to ashes." The Science City, dominant in the northern region of the Han country, abruptly vanished within a day. This news struck many survivors like a tempest. The Science City was notorious for capturing survivors for human experiments. Many survivors were terrified of it. But now, with the Science City gone, and no cunning and terrifying zombie Empress, a vast power vacuum emerged in the northern Han country. Various small factions led by supernaturals began vying for territory and population once again. The conflict was ever-present, never-ending. As for the second team of the Science City, which led by Xianxia and Li Wang, many said they had left, but no one knew their whereabouts. All the external chaos was irrelevant to Xuan. On his previous journey north, Xuan had effortlessly eliminated the first team of the Science City and brought back the zombie Empress. Hence, he had already begun establishing a second farm. Long, Hu, and Bao smashed everything violently, removing the massive ruins. Soon, a new, flat, and spacious farm was born. This content has been unlawfully taken from Royal Road. Report any instances of this story if found elsewhere. Xuan selected a prime spot at the farm's center, dug a large pit, and threw the zombie Empress into it. The zombie Empress roared and immediately tried to attack. Xianxia the novel, F.ir.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Hu stood faithfully by Xuan's side. Seeing the situation, he went up and slapped the zombie Empress's head. With a loud smack, the zombie Empress's head almost spun around. The zombie Empress was instantly stunned. "I am a powerful zombie about to evolve into level 6. And I can also tame lower-level zombies for my own use. What kind of zombie is this in front of me? How can it hit me?" After some thought, the zombie Empress decided to snarl again and release its psionic power in an attempt to control Hu. Smack. Another slap. Humph. Hu was somewhat annoyed. Besides the master, there was another creature trying to possess him. "You're dreaming." The zombie Empress's cheekbones swelled up high. This time it understood. It really couldn't command the stupid, big, and strong zombie. Do you see that zombie matriarch over there? Xuan pointed to the nearby farm where the zombie matriarch diligently produced small flesh sacks. The zombie empress was puzzled. Isn't that my offspring? How did it end up here? As long as you produce flesh sacks every day like her, you'll stay alive. If you don't obey, you'll die. Upon hearing this, the zombie empress snarled again. I'm the lord of the zombies in the northern part of the country. How can I be a production machine? Xuan took out a blood bead and flicked it into the zombie empress's mouth. The zombie empress's eyes rolled back instantly. Just a slave, huh? Fine, I'll do it. Soon, this new farm also settled into a routine. A large number of flesh sacks were produced, and under the diligent work of the purifying corpse, various spirit plants were planted. In addition to flesh-eating spirit plants, there were also some that absorbed spiritual qi. The purifying corpse managed these spirit plants well. Interestingly, a competitive relationship seemed to emerge between the zombie matriarch and the zombie empress. Xuan noticed that since the establishment of the second farm, the zombie matriarch had ramped up its production of flesh sacks. Stimulated by some unknown factor, the zombie empress also rapidly increased its production. However, due to their equal levels, their production speeds remained neck and neck. Xuan was pleased with the development. When workers compete with each other, the capitalist is most delighted. On the rooftop of the hotel, Xuan set up a large fish tank. Inside the tank were the soils soaked with cleansing soul golden rain. Currently, there seemed to be no movement in the soil. Xuan reclined in his chair, casually tossing around the cube that constantly emitted primordial psionic energy. Since this thing releases primordial psionic, it looks like a cube, let's call it Psionic Cube. Now, where should I place it? Curious about its potential, Xuan grabbed a piece of zombie flesh and pushed the psionic cube into it. In the blink of an eye, the zombie flesh began to expand. In less than 10 minutes, the piece of flesh had swollen into a large cube more than a person's height and continued to show signs of further expansion. Awesome! Xuan's spirits lifted. His insects, which purely favored meat, and with rising levels, their appetite only increased. Moreover, with the hive requiring a massive daily supply of flesh, the psionic cube could be a solution for meat production. As Xuan contemplated, Xianxia appeared in his palm, immediately attracted by the scent of the meat. Without waiting for Xuan's command, it plunged into the meat block like a javelin, transmitting a feeling of immense joy back to him. It was like a rat that had found its way into a rice store. Clearly, Xianxia enjoyed this meat block. Deciding to test further, Xuan placed his other gu, Bai and Lan, on it, and also let the three corpse generals, Long, Hu, and Bao, try it. After a moment, Xuan concluded that both the corpse puppets and the gu insects could eat this meat block, but the gu insects particularly loved it. The three corpse generals only ate a few pieces before stopping, probably preferring the taste of living humans. Nonetheless, this was a great outcome. Xuan no longer had to worry about food sources for his gu insects. To them, this high-quality, nutritious meat block was clearly much more appetizing than the dry, withered zombie flesh. Chapter 120, Foundation Establishment 8th Layer, Return to Mystic Azure Realm Plus, Turn Off Reset. A month later, Xuan emerged from his meditation upon receiving a message from the Queen Bee. Since transforming the hive into his lifebound magic tool, the Queen Bee had naturally become his lifebound gu insect. However, it seldom initiated contact with him. This time, it was the mature blood honey that prompted her message. How did it mature faster than I expected? Xuan wondered as he fetched the hive. The Queen Bee's transmitted thoughts clarified everything. It was all due to the high-nutrient meat blocks. The constant supply of these blocks not only sustained the hive and the Queen Bee but also enabled the unlocking of a new type of blood bee, the poison bee. Moreover, there was a significant surplus, enough to provide Xuan with a steady supply. Buzzing sounds filled the air as a group of worker bees approached Xuan, carrying cups made of beeswax. The cups were filled with a viscous, blood-red liquid, blood honey. A sniff of its intoxicatingly sweet fragrance invigorated Xuan, prompting him to lift a beeswax cup and drink it all at once. He immediately refined the blood honey with his spiritual qi. Moments later, he opened his eyes in astonishment. The energy density of the blood honey was incredibly high. A small cup of it was equivalent to 5 large blood pearls. From now on, his cultivation could entirely rely on blood honey instead of blood pearls. Good job, Xuan praised generously. The queen bee, slightly embarrassed by the compliment, quickly returned to the hive. Xuan continued to meditate within the soul-capturing evil-nurturing array, refining both the evil qi and blood honey. His cultivation level was advancing at a slow but steady pace. 2 years blinked by. The black blade had grown into a vast force spanning the eastern and northern regions. It now controlled a communication satellite and its corresponding ground station, effectively ensuring that every level 3 superhuman had a satellite phone. Consequently, their intelligence network was incredibly developed. However, Wang Gangjian and others always adhered to the rules set by the immortals. Their task was to gather intelligence, not to vie for dominance. Thus, Wang Gangjian strictly vetted new members. Those seeking to join Black Blade for personal gain, regardless of their psionic level, were invariably turned away. Under such a stringent organizational structure, the situation in the eastern and northern parts of Han was extremely stable. In Two Dragons City, within the soul-capturing evil-nurturing array, Xuan continued to meditate. His aura had reached the peak of his current stage, like a reservoir brimming with water, just waiting for the moment to break free from its confines. Xuan, having now advanced to the 8th layer of foundation establishment, considered the situation back at Mystic Azure Realm. It had been almost 5 months since his departure, and he speculated that things might have settled down a bit. You could be reading stolen content. Head to the original site for the genuine story. Let's go back and see if it's safe. If not, I can always return, Xuan thought. He had several critical needs that only Mystic Azure Realm could satisfy, especially concerning the core condensation technique and body refining methods. The Thunder Falcon core condensation method given to him by Wan Wuying was only a mid-grade foundation establishment technique. If he had a chance to obtain a superior method, he would certainly seize it. In the northern part of Wu province, within a secluded mountain range, Xuan materialized from his simple cave abode. His first action was to inspect the cave for any signs of disturbance. Finding none, he was relieved. Next, Xuan activated his turtle breath technique to conceal his cultivation level, reverting it to the initial stages of qi refining. He then changed his appearance using a transformation technique to resemble an ordinary male cultivator. Blending into a crowd, he would be as inconspicuous as a drop in the ocean. Having prepared himself, he quietly left the area and headed south, searching for a nearby cultivator's market. Along the way, Xuan noted several former outposts of the Heavenly Seal sect, now all reduced to ruins. These ruins were deserted except for some qi-refining stage demonic beasts that had claimed the territory. After some time, Xuan finally spotted a market town nestled by a mountain and a lake in the distance. He stowed away his green shadow shuttle and pulled out an old, crooked low-grade flying sword he hadn't used in a long while, leisurely approaching the market. Above the market entrance hung a sign with gilded characters, Golden Lake Market, named after the nearby Golden Lake known for its 8 types of spiritual fish. Previously, there had been a Heavenly Seal sect outpost here called Golden Lake Hall, but it was clearly gone now. At the entrance of the market stood a cultivator in a deep blue Taoist robe, seemingly at the mid-qi refining stage. He stopped Xuan and casually mentioned, entering Golden Lake Market requires a fee of 2 small spiritual stones. This fee allows you to stay for 1 day. Xuan frowned slightly as he observed the practices of Golden Lake Market. It was unusual for markets to charge an entrance fee, and even more so to restrict the duration of stay. However, not wanting to draw attention to himself, he handed over the 2 small spiritual stones and entered Golden Lake Market without protest. Inside, Xuan immediately noticed that the cultivators rarely walked in the middle of the road, instead, they cautiously moved along the sides. The center was patrolled by a group of cultivators in deep blue Taoist robes, who scrutinized everyone passing by. Their gaze was ever watchful, especially on female cultivators who were inspected under the pretext of being heavenly seal spies, sometimes accompanied by flirtation. Moreover, these cultivators were keen to pounce on anyone who seemed like a lucrative target, employing various means to exploit them. Xuan was here solely to gather information and to avoid drawing attention. He mimicked the behavior of other wandering cultivators, walking unobtrusively along the sides of the road. His current appearance, deliberately made plain and unremarkable, allowed him to blend in seamlessly, escaping the notice of the patrolling cultivators. See the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xuan adopted the same strategy as before. He didn't buy anything, touch anything, just strolled around. The cultivation levels of the cultivators within the market weren't particularly high. He hadn't even spotted a single Foundation establishment cultivator. Being at the 8th layer of Foundation establishment himself, his spiritual perception was strong enough to effortlessly eavesdrop on conversations among the other cultivators. In just one day, he gleaned a clear understanding of the events of the past 5 months. The heaven-burning sect had indeed been plotting for a long time. They had moved northward, sweeping through most regions of Wu Province and Jin Province. The remnants of the Heavenly Seal sect had managed to escape to remote mountain valleys, barely clinging to survival. Currently, the heaven-burning sect was consolidating its power, preparing for further northward expansion to attack the Imperial Spirit Mountain and Mystical Sound Palace. Meanwhile, the underground ruins in the Misty Mountains still emitted a sinister aura, with no one having escaped from them. The 5 major sects of Wu Province were now in dire straits, critically weakened and vulnerable. The heaven-burning sect had clearly seized this opportunity. The territories of Wu Province and Jin Province were now under the control of various cultivation families aligned with the heaven-burning sect, including the Sidhu family that controlled Golden Lake Market. The cultivators in deep blue Daoist robes, arrogant and high-handed, were disciples of the Sidhu family.